This is the Daily Noonerino because, as you know, and most people that know that it's always 12 o'clock somewhere. This is Robert J. Morris, and we have with us Cerebral Pisces coming out after we did our Jeff C podcast. We decided that we were going to get together, and here we are once again. Um, this is the Daily Noonerino. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Robert. How are you doing?
Pretty good, man. It could be worse. I have been worse.
Yeah, I'm glad we're alive and breathing. It's hard to complain when we're how should we put it, purebloods, safe from some terrible, random, sudden circumstances, as they say.
Right. Well, I mean, that's always been the case throughout our existence in life. It's like there's always a threat. There's always something that is, you know, threatening our life or existentiality. I just make up a new word, but anyway, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. What should we go into tonight? I mean, there's been so much. There's been in the United States, they're going after. Well, they want us to fight over gas stoves, right? They want us to be distracted by that.
Right. Well, why don't we pump the brakes a bit and just who are you and what do you do?
Sorry. So I go by Cerebral Pisces. A lot of people in the community just call me by my first name, Kyle. Um, I run a music channel called Cerebral Pisces. It's about trying to help people wake up or just give them media in another format that has truth in it. Uh, I was pretty much inspired by Jeff C himself and a lot of the works he was doing, and decided I wanted to get more active. And right before his passing, I had just started to really publish more music, kind of geared to our community.
Right. Um,
It I guess I would end it with that down the road, I've started working with other great people in the community, producing music for them as well. And then I'm working on a documentary. And every day, at least on my Twitter, I try to do my best to, if I'm not, too busy with work or other things, doing deep dives into some of these doctors, these characters that they've been bringing up as the sources. I've been digging deep into who owns the so quote unquote local media, yeah, which would be Tegna, and that took me down a whole another route. So I've been trying to help even my fellow people here in Colorado by inspiring them as well. So that's
right.
who I am.
That's awesome, man. Um, you know, uh, there's been a very low rumble, I guess you could say, in the truth community now. Like it's almost like all of the entities and the people in place are just kind of like we have taken a back seat, like watching the bits and pieces, like the dominoes, I guess you could say, watching the
Mm-hmm.
dominoes like fall down. The same ones that we actually have been saying would fall down, like from the rooftops. Like we've been talking about this for ages. But I know that the truth community is kind of like almost taking a bit of a back seat. Um, I mean, what are your views on that, man?
I think we've just been kind of, as you said, just watching and seeing how society is taking on everything, how they're behaving.
Right,
It's really looking like where our roles will be kind of down the line is just inspiring people further because they are afraid to fully talk amongst each other. They're afraid to be told it, by someone else that they have a different opinion. And it takes a lot of strength and courage to just go into a group of people and then say some of the stuff we say because they picked up on some of the things, but they're still falling for a lot of like different small agendas. They don't see the bigger picture still. It's still left versus right, and
right,
it's more of like trying to help people like it's more of the new world order or tyranny versus a free humanity,
right,
and that it's hard to sometimes bring that about, I guess, because both those leave it open ended as if like there will be a one world order of sorts, but there's the dominoes have been set. The stage is rolling. We got Davos going on right now. They seem very
Right.
paranoid because they got 5,000 Swiss guards, I think is what they brought on. Um, they made sure that all the hotels, so many things were blocked off. These guys are actually feeling cornered at this moment because
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect, man. Um, we should probably go into a deep dive in a little bit about the WEF, but like, let's warm up the audience to the idea. Um, I don't know. Do you want to start, or do you want me to go?
oh, why don't you start, man? I'll let you. I'll follow in.
All right. Well, the World Economic Forum uh, is basically just a group of bureaucratic entities with money and capitalistic power, and they're also tandem with the efforts of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Uh, they are part of the body that's financing like things like BlackRock, not financing, sorry, but orchestrating and coordinating with BlackRock. There's a lot of ins and outs and what have you in the parlance of our times. If I was to use a Big Lebowski reference loosely, but that being said, um, it's weird how now like World Economic Forum is not it's not a government body. Neither is the World Health Organization. And neither is even the UN for that matter. Like in the actual context of where we are today. So
I'm
go
bringing
ahead.
up right now Klaus Schwab.
Right.
I
I think you
in
could share your screen if you
1971.
like. You can share your screen if you
Okay,
like.
give me 1 second. How
Yeah.
do I? Oh, I see. Share. Start
Right.
sharing. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to Chrome tab, and we're gonna go to Klaus Schwab here.
Yeah.
So right here, we've got him starting in 1971 as the founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum. In 1998, together with his wife, Hildy, they started the social entrepreneurship. And from there, 2004, where we're more concerned with is when it gets to the young global leaders. And this is people like Justin Trudeau, Kevin McCarthy's on there. From Colorado, we got, what's his name, Michael Bennett. They've been just slowly seeping their hands into all forms of government. And the whole ideology is that we're going to create this super sustainable world where, technology is just out of like abundant, it's out of control, it's just constantly exponentially just growing to its heights where they finally reach whatever that end game is. From there, they want to control every aspect of life because they're saying that just imagine if everyone was controlled by an AI unit, right? And that everybody's thoughts can be felt by your world leaders, and then they would know what you're thinking and how good this would be. Uh, it's
Right.
I guess let me stop sharing from there. But yeah, there's a lot of just intricate meetings that they've been making. They first, right now it's Friday the 13th, so here we come to some of the,
Right.
kind of the whole knowledge,
Yeah.
right? So they're getting together, they're flying, they're meeting on Friday the 13th. Remember that these people are supposed to. They talk about how they want to reduce carbon and all the different emissions from cars, even us existing, right?
Right.
And for them to all get there, they all fly on these private jets. So right there, the whole climate agenda obviously is just a farce. It's a joke. To them, they can do whatever they want to the planet, but for the rest of us, we're going to be put under lock and key through technology, and that's how it's the same thing with the whole COVID um, vaccine, track and tracing apps that they were trying to use. China was already like working on something similar that they were going to use. I think they already have fully implemented it, and it goes beyond just using facial recognition. You go up with the QR codes, everything, and we saw them try to test this out in other countries. It didn't really go too well with the people, so you could see that they backed off everything, and there must have been a reason they backed off because the idea was to never really fully come back from this, from my understanding. So it
Right.
seems like there was some kind of shift in consciousness, and I really think actually people like you, Robert, started the spark, along with even going back to like William Cooper. Even Alex Jones had his kind of deal into this. Whether they got, Alex got co-opted or whatever happened to him later down the line. A lot of the things he was coming out when he was talking about even turning the frogs gay. It's interesting that YouTube channel After School just did a whole thing about how plastics were actually causing, children to become more effeminate, to have less testosterone. You could see like actual physical changes in the anatomy of males themselves,
Right.
and it all plays down the road, right? And these guys at the World Economic Forum have their hands steeped in not just climate change, but they're very concerned about transgenderism and a lot
Right.
of these other agendas that they've slowly been bringing up, essentially just destroying what it is to really be human. Like,
Right.
we're going beyond Edward Bernays, right? We're going beyond propagandists now. We're going into people that literally been hiring psychologists that are looking on how they can change our behavior, not just economically, but by actually vaccinations and through
Right.
other forms of medicine. And I think one of the most alarming things I've seen that's come out of this was the Pfizer CEO getting up there on the World Economic Forum. I think he's talking to Schwab, and he's talking about how in January 2019 in California they had already started some kind of like medical thing, and that
Mhm.
they've already accomplished by 2023 that they're going to reduce the population by 50%. And you hear these words. I mean, Bill Gates has done this before, right? He gets up on his channel and he's like,
Yeah.
"We can reduce the world through vaccination. I yield." Unless you'd like me to keep going.
Oh no, go on. No, go on, man. Like, no, seriously. Yeah, go on. Um, I did a video on that, on Bill Gates at the 2015 TED Talk,
Yeah,
and
yeah, he gets up in front of people.
yeah, gets up in front of people. And okay, like, if I were like a Bond villain, if I were a Bond villain, and I'd be like, yeah, let's go after the world, let's become absolute pieces of shit. I'll be like, who lets Bill Gates talk? Like,
Yeah,
like every single time, he's absolutely like he's not like he's the most worst example of like predictive programming of like he's like, oh, when the new variant comes out in 3 months,
let me see here.
how do you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I like so we all know that prior to the pandemic, 2019 in October, they were running their was it Event 201, right?
Right.
And then eventually, like it goes live. And how many times throughout history have we seen government or war game operations where it begins and then it goes live, and it becomes a reality?
Mm,
And you think to yourself, like, this sounds like something out of fiction, right? It's like these James Bond characters, and it's like, yeah, you do hear Klaus Schwab talking like he's completely ruined the world, and they fill the character. But you go back into even some of their history, and you find out their allegiances to like working with Nazi scientists or even being Nazis in their families themselves. And a lot of people, I don't even know if they teach a lot of that American history anymore. I mean, I learned when I was a kid just because I went to the Holocaust Museum, and when I was going through the documents, that's when I came across IBM, and I was kind of just a little bit traumatized to like learn that like to unveil the truth at such a young age that I was lied to about my history, and that my country that I'm living in now had just as much to play with a lot of that stuff coming up, and had nothing really to do with like the people here, just the world players, these people that have already amassed a lot of power. I mean, when we talk about someone like Henry Ford, who influenced Hitler heavily,
mm,
he's the one that's responsible for, at least I don't know if this had played it out into Canada, but giving us here a weekend, right, time off, because like how can you buy their products if you're constantly working for them? And
right.
that bothered them, right? So then they were like, we need to give the slaves some time off, as they viewed us, right? And it wasn't free time for us for our own leisure. It was so that we would just have time to buy their products. And you start to look into that and how that's influenced consciousness over time, buying all these products and everything. And I think the one one major conspiracy that they've allowed to, like, on one of the bigger YouTuber channels, Potassium, he did the whole thing on the light bulb that's still burning today in one of the firehouses here in the United States. And this is from Thomas Edison's time, from my understanding. It's one of the incandescents from then, and it's still burning.
Right.
So, right? So
It's funny.
the
I literally just talked about this to somebody, and it was actually a conversation regarding um uh planned obsolescence,
yeah,
which is the thing that Apple actually there was a class action lawsuit against Apple for this very thing, but they literally.
do you know who started that? And this would have driven Mr. Jeff C like mad.
Oh
Casey
yeah,
Neistat, right? Or Neistat, whatever the hell his name is. That was one of his first viral videos, was him like going after Apple. And I then, like, it's like something must have happened around there, because they gave him all this like unlimited money, and you can see how like he changed. At first, he starts off, he's exposing things about like our world, and he's questioning things. He's starting to look into like these things, and all of a sudden, his channel just completely becomes, well, a distraction.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hang on,
but
I'm just gonna reroute my audio for my mic, so if I just got me back,
I can't hear you yet.
boom, am I back?
Uh, no, I can't hear you.
Oh shit. Nah.
Yeah, bring up that chat.
Bing. How about now? Got me back?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
You can got okay, good. Hopefully the other people can hear me too.
No,
Oh,
now I can't hear you.
now you can't?
I don't know what happened.
Oh my god.
No,
Shit in the
I
handbasket.
heard you for like a second.
Hang on. And boom.
I still can't hear anything.
How about now?
I can't hear. Let me bring up the chat. Then I can.
How about that?
Now I can hear you. Yeah. Sorry.
There we go. All right.
All right.
So now you can hear me. Hopefully audio is better now. Uh, yeah. Sorry, I got complaints come
No,
in
you're
that.
all right.
Yeah.
Was I too quiet? I hope, because I
No,
can. I'm gonna figure out my microphone situation.
no,
Not now. Not now.
apparently you were fine. I think it was mine that was stuttering and staticky. So hopefully, I'm hoping that it's better now. Jesus. Hey, it's not a podcast unless things go wrong. So
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we gotta. I mean, you know what? All life is about learning, failing, and growing.
yeah,
Um, how to get good at music? By sucking a lot and like failing a lot until like you learn. It takes time. I can't.
yeah, yeah.
How many times have we like had to practice a song and you're like, man, and then even then you still got to keep practicing it to keep it.
You still suck. Like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. No matter what you do, it's like I'm super musically talented, but like when it comes to my siblings, they get really jealous, and so it's like my brother just pulled out a mandolin and strummed it once, and then I instantly was like, it's out of tune, man. Like, and he got super mad at me just because I have that, like, I've trained my ear over the years, like just failing all the time. But going back to this design obsolescence, and these guys, pretty much the ones that manipulated us to destroy our planet, to constantly just consume. They're the ones now telling us like, hey, we've got the better plan now. What
right.
if we just take everything away from you? What if it's not us? It's because you're too stupid, and I'll do that, right? So let us do your thinking. Let us just be right in your brain, just so we can just feel that when you're getting that urge to have that freedom and do what you're gonna do. We would like to know that, so we can just assist you in your thinking, so you feel better. And our grand old, good God knows what that. You think of many things that a neuroscientist could actually do, like release certain amounts of dopamine. It could control your serotonin. Like the amount of things that they would have like access to more than just like knowing what you're thinking,
Right.
right? They could change in real time these things. And what kind of like these are the thoughts that Klaus Schwab, the founder, is constantly bringing up to the people, in
Right.
the World Economic Forum. A word salad right there.
What
But
what about his lapdog Harara?
oh man,
Like,
you would have to give me a little bit of like an education on that, because I've been so focused on Klaus. Why don't you take the reins there, guy?
yeah, well, Harara, he's a scientist guy. He's the one who's like, oh, we can hack the human
Oh, okay,
species.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know who you're talking about now. I apologize. I should have his name down.
hang on a second here. Just gonna try and increase the gain on my mic. Still getting complaints that my mic ain't good. So
I am switching. I don't know why the chat is not repopulating for me.
no, I mean I'm getting text messages from people.
Oh,
like, yeah,
I wasn't sure if there's people like chatting in the chat. I'm like, it's interesting. It's all quiet in there.
yeah. But like I said, like if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
I brought up on my screen when you're ready. I got some of the deep dives I've been doing, looking into some of these, at least the local media here,
Right.
and their ownership. I found this really interesting. Share real quick, since we were talking about the World Economic Forum being seeping their hands into everything, and
Right.
big pharma is their big weapon, right? And so how did they get a bunch of these news stations to just all of a sudden, like, all these people, not all of the people that you see on television every day doing these interviews are necessarily nefariously trying to manipulate humanity. There are a bunch of good people that actually just, they think they're just showing up, they're just doing their job, and they actually believe they're doing good.
Right.
Right? And that was something that was really terrifying about the Nazi era. During World War II, it doesn't matter if like any of the sides anybody was on. Like when you became a stormtrooper in the military, you became a stormtrooper in the military on all sides.
Right.
And I started to look into like who owns these local media people, or first off we got BlackRock and Standard Guard and your typical big investing corporations, just completely the biggest investors, right? And then they bring on, let me share my screen, people from Pfizer and Moderna onto their boards, right? And I found this really interesting. This is Lydia Fonseca. She's the executive vice president and chief digital and technology officer of Pfizer Incorporated. She's on the board committee of Tegna, which owns, I believe, around 32% of all the local media in the United States.
Right.
She was named the 2020 Health Influencer, right? She's part of, she was the vice president, I'm looking for, senior vice president of Quest Diagnostics, who was doing a lot of the testing during the whole cocoa outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
She's also there's a bunch of stuff in here. She's a medical marketing and media expert. She was on the Forbes CIO Innovation Award of recognizing, people who lead revenue and enhancing innovation efforts. She's worked from U.S. and Japan Business Council.
Right.
You can't make some of this stuff up, right? And they're always bragging about how they get all these Latina people and like, look, we're being so diverse by bringing in the Latinas and like all these other people.
Right. Right.
And,
what about okay, since you're there, look up Chrystia Freeland.
Chrystia Freeland?
Yeah. That's our Prime Minister's lapdog.
I'm looking her up right now, bringing her up. Do you want me to go to her Wikipedia page, or
Go for it.
not that really helps it?
Not really.
But we'll just take a peek at what they have to say. All right, so Canadian politician serving a 10th and current Deputy Prime Minister of Canada since 2019 and the Minister of France since 2020. A member of the Liberal Party. We'll get that brought up because we gotta. This is how you start looking into these people. You're just looking at every single thing that they post about themselves because they like to brag
Yeah.
narcissistically about everything,
Yeah, they are.
right?
Yeah, true.
And I guarantee she had one of her people write this page for her because they're gonna control their image. They don't allow other people
Yeah.
to write this
Well,
stuff.
what you won't see here is like citations needed, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. What are the things that we don't want the public to know, right? Like this is gonna be like make her look. It's supposed to make her look really good. I see comprehensive economic and trade agreement. What is this? It's a free trade agreement between Canada, European Union, and its member state. It's been provisionally applied, thus removing 98% of pre-existing tariffs between the two parties. That's interesting. Well, and then the Emergencies Act. Now that's where we're getting
Yeah,
the Emergency Act.
that's where we're getting to some fun little nitty gritty bits here in
Yeah, I
Canada.
see. She introduced a child care program in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, I'm sure that was perfect for children. Let me tell you, this.
A lot. Hey, listen, and here's the double edged sword of that is that a lot of families received income as like as benefits, and a lot of single moms were very happy that they received these kinds of benefits. So immediately they're going to align themselves with the Trudeau government because like I'm able to do more for my family with this. You know what I mean? It's fucking it's diabolical.
Oh wow! So she pissed off the Russians. I see.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Interesting.
she's got some interesting associations there.
She is a journalist as well. Man, I always love it. These people are just like, I was a puppet at one point in my life, and I'm a puppet still in my life.
Yes.
It's the way that Klaus Schwab feels happy walking naked down.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think that's the most hilarious, funniest clip you ever see of Klaus Schwab. Is he's always wearing that weird getup, and you're just like, why the.
He looks like a Roman soldier that's like outgrown his like no his post, like no, just take that off. What are you doing? Oh, it was like a seed from like Spock and his mom, like on Vulcan. Like it was like, what the fuck are you wearing?
Let's check out their
Yeah.
global report for
All right. All
2023.
right. All right.
All right, so here we're getting into the fun stuff. The world faces a set of risks that feel both wholly and new and eerie familiar. Well, gee, I wonder if that was through television and media. The Global Risk Report 2023 explores some of the most severe risks we may face over the next decade. Oh, please tell me, how do you Nostradamuses know everything that we're going to go through? As we stand on the edge of the low growth, the low population era, yeah, we're not cooperating with you. Not at all. Tougher trade-offs, risks eroding climate action, human development, and future resilience.
Resilience. Resilience. That's how.
Let's see what their
Oh, fuck.
key findings are.
Oh,
The
keep.
first years of this decade have heralded a particularly disruptive period in human history. The return to a new normal, quote unquote, following the COVID-19 scamdemic.
Wait. Stop. The return to a new normal. How do you return to a new normal? Was it a new normal already and we just didn't know about it? Are we returning
Yeah,
back to a. What the fuck does that even mean?
it
Like,
sounds like they know that they're like conditioning. Like I was
yeah,
watching Westworld right throughout the whole pandemic, right? And
right.
like one of the funny things, you would literally see things that happen in that show, and then
Mm.
you look back at reality and be like, how is this happening in real life? Like in 2019, they began filming, I believe, the third season. Yeah, the third season, because I think there's only four. And in that third season, everyone started wearing masks. They're talking about how the future people had already prepared themselves to be completely masked up, and there was some kind of pandemic and all this stuff. And you're just kind of looking at it. And they're like, yeah, some people they just feel safer that way. They say in the show, like that's why a couple of them you'll see in this show are masked now. And you're like, right, you're not. You were filming this prior to the pandemic, and yet you have all this like imagery ready to go. I don't
Jim.
buy it.
Yeah.
How many? weird about where I can. Okay, so like when a television show is getting like ready to be made, there are several different well planning stages. First, you got to figure out like what all your clothing's gonna look like. You got all the
Right.
people that are figuring out the story and how they're gonna actually like rewrite everything so that these actors have lines that are scripted for them because they're too stupid to usually really do a lot of improv, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
they really a direct.
There are good actors.
There are
there
there
are
are
good
some of
actors. Like season 1 of Westworld, like was
there's
absolutely
talent.
fucking amazing. Like season 1 was brilliant. Like it was brilliantly executed. Is what I
I
mean.
should what I should restate is like okay, so someone like Sir Anthony Hopkins, since I think he's
Right.
been knighted, right? So
Sure. Yes.
he's
Yeah.
one of these he's one of these OG professional like I mean he reads the script so
What are
much
you
that
doing?
it's like in the back of his mind perfectly, so that he can actually do a lot of like controlling his facial actions and stuff.
Yeah.
But other people they're not trusted to just like be able to like fully do what they want to do. They'll have the director literally telling them like, no, I
Right.
don't like that. No, you're gonna do this, and
Yeah.
this is where we like sometimes actually the best acting happens when they don't know what's gonna happen. So sometimes they're fed the script slowly. So that way they're actually going to be in shock too to what's going to happen to the character, and they'll
Yeah.
actually display that more in a better fashion. So some of it's going to be filmed naturally. It's like Alien. When Alien was being made, there's this whole part where Sigourney Weaver is like she's ripping through all the like the nest of Alien 2 or whatever. I think that's Alien 2.
Yeah.
She's trying to get to the child, right? And
Right.
that's real fiberglass.
Yeah.
So the expression on her face is really her like, oh my god, this really fucking sucks. Like, why am I doing this right now?
Yeah.
Millions of dollars coming my way, you know.
I gotta tear this little rod out of here. I gotta do it. Yeah. Yeah. No. And that's how you capture that. Oh, by the way, what's his nuts that did Aliens? He's notorious for putting his like actors through tremendous amounts of like torture just to get the shot. And I respect that. I respect that. Like that's like, you know, if you're an actor and you're trying to act and do the part to to play into a director's or writer's vision, I guess you could say. Like, yeah, like give it what you have, and you know, like screw the process. Like we need results. You know, like I could see that. I could totally see that. Um, we're talking about James Cameron. James Cameron is probably the most like pretentious and hardworking director in film.
They're all the directors actually are very innovative. You can
Oh,
go through a lot of them. These
for
are probably
sure, for sure. Yeah.
but yeah, he's definitely. I mean, he's pretty much a lot of the people that are going to get involved on these projects. They're going to be. You have to have a workaholic kind of
Yeah.
tendency. Even the
Yeah.
actors. I mean, it's not. I don't want to make it sound like they're just some stupid bimbos that they can't do anything
Mm.
competently. There's a lot of
Right.
really intelligent people
Hmm.
involved in this.
Right.
It's just I guess what I'm trying to convey that I'm not doing well is that there's a lot of people involved, and there's a lot of people. Like when you get to the special effects department, they're working like probably 12-hour days as well, and they don't
Yeah.
get really. There's not weekends or anything like this. There's actually kind of like a sweatshop. The same way thing would apply when you go overseas. Like if I went to like somewhere like Japan, there's all this talk all the time about their animators over there because I know that they're using their anime now to really get into the kids' minds. It's one of the ways they were actually able to push a lot of different programming in that facet as well, and it actually
Right.
played into the whole furry scene and all this other kind of sexual. We should state that in Japan their culture is very sexual. They
Yeah.
have a lot of
Yeah.
right like. I mean, they sell used panties alleged used panties in vending machines.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's completely
Dildos, panties, edible undies, like all, all kinds of like crazy horseshit. But it's weird though that on a societal level, like socially speaking, it's a bit of a taboo subject. Yet they subjugate, you know, the people with the options of these things. Um, I could give you an example. It's like here in North America, there's such a like towards like there's such a stigma associated with alcohol, for instance. Like, you know, um, if you land at 3 a.m.,
they're saying my audio is low. Sorry.
no
I'm not
worries,
sure,
man.
but
No, I hear you just fine. You hear me?
I can hear you. I just don't know if I'm coming out loud now. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't
Um,
mean to interrupt you.
no worries. Actually, I'm going to turn you up a little bit on OBS, but you still are coming through. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
but
Sorry.
um,
Keep going.
yeah, no. What I was saying is like, for an example, like for a societal, like kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Like an acceptance. Like here, like alcohol, for instance, is completely like it's shut down like between certain hours. Like you're not getting alcohol after 1 o'clock a.m. or 11 o'clock p.m. And not getting it till 11 a.m. That kind of thing. Yet, you go to some European airport and land at 3 a.m. you might want to drink and you're like 10 hours jet lagged, you know what I mean? But the culture is completely different because of these cultural directives, and it's interesting because smoking, for instance, like I know I'm talking about vices, but at the same time that is a cultural directive. Like you get off the plane, it's like, oh my god, they got a smoking lounge here, like in Munich. It's like, holy crap, you wouldn't see that. Don't get smoking lounges in North America, not at any airport. You know,
No,
you know what I mean. And,
we
and like,
used
and if you show up at
we used
3
to have a
a.m.,
few, but
yeah, but if you show up at 3 a.m., you're not getting a beer once you land. You could be like 10 hours jet lagged. It's like, oh god, I just want a drink, and you're not gonna get it. Like, not here. South of the border, sure. you know, like it's just there's like so many cultural paradigms, and it it presents itself in so many different ways, right? And the North American structure is very, very, very stuck up. Like it is stuck up its own ass so far it can't even see itself. It's horrible, man. Anyway,
when
that's
when
my
I
my, my rant is over.
when I check the YouTube channel, it looks like I'm like super larged up and you're all tiny.
Yeah.
Is that how you wanted it set up? Because I'm sharing my screen, huh? I'll go back to
Mhm.
that. Is it showing it on?
Mhm.
Because when I'm Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, we're
Yeah.
back. So we were just at the return of the new normal following the COVID-19 pandemic was quickly disrupted by an outbreak of war. Yes, I'm sure that was cool. It wasn't planned at all. It just
Not the
randomly happened,
not the Ukraine war.
ushering in a fresh series of crisis in food and energy. Gee, doesn't that just sit well with you guys? I mean, isn't that what
Yeah.
you guys are trying to get your hands in?
Right.
Triggering problems that decades of progress had sought to solve. Really? You
Mm.
mean the old system was demolition, and now you guys have moved on to bigger things? And here we go. As 2023 begins, the world is facing a set of risks that both feel wholly new and eerily familiar. We just read this. We have seen a return of older risks: inflation, cost of living crisis, trade wars, capital outflows from emerging markets, widespread social unrest, geopolitical confrontation, and specter of nuclear warfare, which few of this generation's business leaders and public policymakers have experienced. Really? It's like, okay, so we set one domino off, and it set another domino off, and another domino off, and it's just random crises though. We haven't done anything with everything, like we didn't tell you what to do about COVID and shut down your businesses to cost,
No,
you
dude, what
know.
you just read was like that was like the text crawl for Star Wars. Like literally, like you could have just done the text crawl for Star Wars. Like
maybe we should do that.
that would
Maybe I'll,
that would be fucking funny. That would
you
be
know what?
yeah.
It's gonna happen. I won't be able to start until Monday, but maybe I'll turn this into a text crawl and then like it can like be an opener for everybody to spread it around, and then well, I'll write some. I'll get on like Ableton, and I'll find some horns, and I'll write my own like empire, like D. Since they do like D D D D. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, hey, and then we get Robert J. Vandross to narrate it. Yeah, baby, that's what I'm
That'd be
talking
perfect.
about.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right,
As
let's see.
2023 begins, the world is facing a set of risks that feel both wholly new and eerily familiar. We've seen a return of older risks. inflation, cost of living, crises, trade wars, capital outflows from emerging markets, widespread social unrest, geopolitical confrontation, and the specter of nuclear warfare. Just come right out. Anyway,
These are being amplified by comparatively new developments
right?
in risk landscaping, including unsustainable levels of debt, a new era of growth, low growth, and low global investment for deglobalization. The decline in human development after decades of progress, rapid and unconstrained development of dual use civilian and military technologies, and the growing pressure of climate change.
Oh,
Zeke
Jiminy Christmas, not climate change.
you hear all the Zeke ha, Zeke ha, Zeke ha. They're all like cheering at the Davos. They're like, they said our favorite word, climate change. Oh my goodness. Together these are converging to shape a unique, it's converging to shape a unique, uncertain, and turbulent decade to come.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, that convergence was the 14 countries that came together during the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And, interestingly enough, certain people were not partisan to it. Like, people like Trump, for instance. I'm not saying he's a good guy at all. Like, that's not what I mean to say. Like, I'm not pro or against in that case, because, like, I have my own viewpoints on that. But it's interesting, though, how the TPP was seen as a thing to not do by the other countries, if you get what I'm saying. But the 14 people who did sign into the TPP in 2015, like, this is a big deal, and a lot of people don't understand the geopolitical ramifications of such an agreement between 14 countries. Like, that is how certain legislations were set in place that were compatible with the assertion of the other countries. So come on. I'm a bit of a newbie, like, in terms of geopolitics. I don't have a degree in political science. Like, and like, at the very least, I consider myself an amateur when it comes to this kind of stuff. However, I'm also not a fucking idiot. Like,
Right. No, I'm right there with you, man. I don't know everything. I'm learning just as fast as everybody else. Like, and one of the things I do enjoy is that we do have a really good set of people out there. Like, I
right.
follow really graceful Press Reset Earth, on Twitter, and, like, even Spiro, or COVID 1984, he goes by. That's another really good person. Just follow. He's been doing really great work, exposing so much. I love him. He's so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of communication that they haven't been able to stop has been great. Like, and I sometimes wonder, like, why they couldn't pull the plug completely, and they wanted to, but they knew they'd shoot themselves in the foot. That, like, it was, the more they were censoring people, the more people were questioning, and it's a dual sword. It's a weapon that can fall on either side, and unfortunately, they went maybe too fast, and I think they realized that. I think they were speeding up at the same time, faster and faster, because they noticed how many people on their end were being very vocal about who they are.
Well, I think that I mean, if kind of from the inside looking in and from the outside looking in, I kind of think that they changed their course of direction, because the truth community was compromised a long time ago.
Yes, it was.
We discussed this, and it, like, what happened was that compromisation also moved along into Hollywood. It moved into video games. It moved into, like, all of the things, like, every single aspect that we had predicted, the path, like, it came to be, like, and it's, like, so bizarre, man. Like, it's so bizarre how it unfolded. Like, like, I'm the first person to say, like, I hate being right. Like, I fucking hate being right. Like, I would have loved to have been wrong about all of these things.
Bro. I'll never forget when they were doing the Ebola exercise, right, to prepare for all this, right?
Yeah.
And, like, they were testing it then. They saw how everyone was like, shut down the borders. They were all freaking out, and then, like, people like me and you were, like, probably, like, smoking a little bit of a joint or something, and, like, are they gonna begin the games? Like, what the fuck are they up to? Like, we're like, is this? Are you seriously going for now? Is Trump gonna be? Are you gonna seriously use Trump? Like, why would you use him? You've been using him as the bad guy, like so far. Like,
Yeah.
that goes against everything. Like, you guys could have, and they probably could have gotten away with it. They probably actually could have convinced more people, like, used him as the more of the bad guy, and they would have like been like, oh, I feel the new fear hop.
Well,
But
you know what? That's case in point, though. Well, logically, it's case in point that well, in my opinion, anyway, that I think that there's more forces at work here. There's more forces at play. Like it's not so single sided as one entity. Like like we talk about the World Economic Forum, we talk about the Illuminati, we could talk about the Rosicrucians, we could talk about any sort or form of secret society, the deep state. Like we could go on for hours about all these intricate details, but I think there's more forces at work than just one, and I don't think they're necessarily in agreement.
no, I actually, when I was younger, I always kind of saw it like even the people that were acting as one.
Mm.
I always kind of felt that they were going to infight over the power.
Yeah.
Who really is going to be the one that's free on top? Is there going to be someone free on top, or are we all like
Yeah.
going to become one giant machine? And they think that they're going to like retain some of their consciousness once they. And we've heard Elon bring up like he's like, oh, I don't think you'll retain your consciousness. I think you'll just become lost.
Yeah.
And you'll probably lose yourself because, I mean, there's so much more to the human body than we were ever taught. We obviously weren't taught well, like from the institutions, on how to take care of our body. They wanted everybody to be fat, and it just so happens that there were other forces out there, and other people were like, you couldn't lie to get all the doctors to lie at the time. They had to create a situation where they could get the group think to take over, like even the medical field, right? Because like
Yeah.
there were a lot of people there that they knew were gonna stand up, and so that's why they had to get like somehow get all these like money involved, so that when the hospitals were making money and keep other people quiet, they would also go along with everything because they're like, oh shit, I'm making more money than I've ever made in my entire life. Like, why would
Mm.
I give this up, right? And
Well,
then, but they're used, so now they get to face the next issue.
well, see, I think the largest thing that has taken place in since we were doing this stuff like in 2014, but even going back even further, going back to like 2003, going back to 9/11, like going back all the way, the largest violation that has taken place is that of the trust of the people. It's like when you have experts saying this, that, or the next thing. I mean, you want to be able to trust them. You know, like it's not your job to go and become a fucking like physicist or have a PhD in psychology just so that you can understand things. It's like, no, you want to do your regular job, do your thing, get home, and take care of your kids. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, you want to trust that the people that are doing these things are doing it with your trust in mind, you know? And that's the biggest violation that I see right now, man. Like, it's disgusting. It's literally
Oh,
disgusting. When you see
people,
people like my prime minister, like fucking
right?
Trudeau, like that son of a bitch. Chrystia Freeland, these people who have like they have another dog in another fight because they're members of the WEF. Like that should be banned. That should be outlawed. There's no way that we should have politicians with with their fingers in those pies. No,
Absolutely,
like
it's treason. It's treason to all countries. It's treason to to humanity.
absolutely.
Like they're committing. They literally are scheming to do the biggest forms of genocide, changing, like altering us, the human species, God's creation, right? Like, everybody has their own spiritual belief or believes in Christ, or what it may be, but like this is not something that they own. This body is your own temple. It's not something that you're supposed to be constantly having nefarious other people make decisions about
Yeah.
it for, right? And then it goes
Yeah.
beyond that when you get into the programming, like how we literally are living through
Yeah.
transhumans.
It's unimmutable. Like your existence is unimmutable. Like like it can't be. Uh, it can't be infringed upon. Let's get into the Constitution. No, but you know what I mean. Like, God. Anyway, I don't want to
So
rant on.
actually, one of the geopolitical things they have on here, since we were talking about geopolitics, is
Mm-hmm.
geoeconomic confrontation.
Right. Let's get
And
into that.
I wonder exactly who that is for. But let's look at these top 10 risks. So these are the top 10 risks for 2-year to 10-year period, and it looks like some of them do fall over the 10-year period as well, like geoeconomic confrontation. But their first thing that they're saying is going to be the cost of living crisis.
God damn it.
Funny how BlackRock is buying up everything. Bill Gates is buying up everything. Aren't they? I don't know much about, like, say, over in Canada. Do you know what's going on with the land over there? How is that all dealt with? Is it just property of the?
We got a big thing going on here with the Aboriginal, community, and it's a little bit more complex over here. Like, because there's a lot of land that's not being utilized, which is like unceded land.
Right.
Right. So, like, technically, like, if anybody has ownership over it, it's any Aboriginal entity that wants to apply for it, I guess you could say. But it's interesting though, because yeah, that's a whole nother dynamic that probably could require an entire podcast on its own, like to discuss. Um, but the cost of living crisis in itself is like that as a first identifier should be alarming. That should be alarming to people, man.
It's interesting. It should very well should be. I apologize. I'm listening and researching at the same time, trying to find
No
some other
worries.
videos that goes along with, like, what we have pulled up with the World Economic Forum, because the next one is climate. So I was getting that set up. I apologize.
Man, no worries, man. No, the whole climate change thing is a funny redirect because remember it was about global warming, right?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
one point, and then it's just like, oh, whew, they just throw the curveballs. Like, yeah, oh, change the goalposts. Yeah, it's climate change. Get colder, getting warmer. Who can keep track of this shit, right? It's just like, yeah.
There was that oh, what's his name? The physicist that's always going on the History Channel and doing not oh gosh, I just want to find him. Makako or whatever, the Japanese guy.
Oh, right, yeah.
He was just on MSNBC talking about how they can fire laser particles, right? And they're getting open about how they can, like, manipulate the weather. While at the same time they're like, yeah, we have natural disasters and extreme weather events, and it's like interesting that we've had these, these strange hurricanes, and we'd watch them, and then they start doing things that nature's never done before, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, all these people, and they're like, well, it's the climate, obviously, and it's like, well, it's interesting, when we were having a bunch of weird, monsoon rains here in the United States during the Olympics in China, the Chinese were bragging about their weather weapon, and it was like pure, crisp blue skies all the time. And then there was all these other world event, like, weather happening all throughout the world as like a kind of a chain reaction of just how the process works, whatever they were doing. I don't know what process they were doing, if they were using lasers or what. But we'll go on. I'll have to find that video later. It'll be a good one. I'll send it to you. Failure to mitigate climate change. So we're still going on about that. Erosion of social cohesion and the societal polarization.
Ha! That erosion of social cohesion and societal polarization. That means societal demoralization and division. To anyone paying attention, that's what that means. God.
That's in 2 years, right? So they're talking until 2025.
Right.
All right. Large scale and environmental damage incidents.
Oh.
What are you guys planning? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Failure of climate change adaptation. So they are. In 2 years, they're gonna, like, change things up on us so much that we're not gonna adapt well to, like, we're not gonna be happy.
Nah.
you're not going to be happy owning nothing. You're not going to be happy not to be able to use gas to heat your house or cook with. And one of the
Well,
things
they're
that
going to
blows my
ban it. They're going to
yeah.
ban it. You
Oh
won't
no,
be able. You won't be able to use gas to heat your house.
watch it. They're gonna come out and they're just like they're gonna say you can't use wood either. Eventually, they'll come to your house and
Yeah,
be like, no, you can't have a wood stove. And it's if you go
they've
to
already banned it. There's a couple of places in the United States where they've already banned that.
I do, it. You were right. It's so okay. Widespread cybercrime and cyber insecurity. Gee. Oh no, really? And that's they have that for the 10-year one too, right?
Weird that
Natural,
they're both slotted at number 8, both in the 2-year and the 10-year program. That's
right? And then the next one, natural resource crisis. All
oh
manufactured. We can't have you farming anymore because you can't have resources. We can't have you doing this because it hurts the planet. The cows, they fart. They cause problems.
God.
Large-scale involuntary migration.
Oh, so that means human smuggling and movement of people.
Where do you think they want to move everybody? I
I
wonder what continent do you think they want to build this, like, or are they building it?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Argentina, like uh,
And
that's yeah.
it looks like all of these are on the same, are also in the 10 years. So they're expecting all these things to reoccur.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. It's the same exact thing in the 10-year. Just
Well,
different slots.
BlackRock announced that they're going to actually fund the rebuilding of the Ukraine. So,
Yeah,
like,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, like after it's blown up, after they blow it up, they're gonna rebuild it, and it's already been announced. Like,
How would they know an economic era is ending while a new one is going to begin?
how does Bill Gates know that the next variant's coming out in 3 months? Like,
The catastrophic contagion.
right,
Were they
right,
looking
right.
at
The
that? They started banning that yet?
the really bad one. Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. So yeah, as an economic era ends, the next will bring more risks of stagnation, divergence, and distress. So their new way of living is going to cause more pain and suffering, and they are completely content with that. Geopolitical fragmentation will drive geoeconomic warfare and heighten the risk of multi-domain conflicts.
Mm.
So let's read this. That one's a little. An economic warfare is becoming the norm. They're like, yeah, we've just been fighting with y'all economically. It's war. With increasing clashes between global powers. What is this? This reads out as just a call. And the state intervention in markets over the next 2 years. So the state and the global powers are going to be. It's like I'm thinking of Ron DeSantis right now. Like one
Jiminy
of the
fuck.
people that, I don't know if you like how you feel about him, but like, seems to be screwing things up.
Man.
But is that by plan? Is it by part of the plan though? Are they trying to get people to move to Florida because they can do a hurricane later and cause a lot of damage? And then, I mean, it's just back and forth.
Well, you can you group people into places, and you know where they are. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's. Ugh.
Well, they don't want people out here like here in Colorado. They're gonna slowly make it so that all the people out in the country have to come to the cities, right? They always talk about how they don't want the nomads,
Right.
And like, there's a game actually out. Jeff would have loved this one. He would have been so in its face, dude. That's Cyberpunk 2077. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I haven't played it.
So, I'm playing it right now, and like, I literally got to this one part where they have these politicians, and they're talking about how the night before the one politician is like, dude, I swear to God, I shot someone in my apartment, but all of a sudden, like, I just don't remember. I woke back up in my bed and it was like it didn't happen, and so your character's been hired to like find out what's going on, and so you start investigating their apartment and you find a door that's right in front of them, and in this door there's a bunch of equipment that is linked to another device that's sending out information with old technology so that no one can track it,
Right.
as they're saying. But that's like the small piece. The big piece is they have technology in this room that is literally reprogramming the mind of the two politicians, the wife and the husband, and they have no idea that their memories and their behaviors have been fully altered. And they're just going into like how like the reason why these people never needed to take any uh any money from drug cartels or donations from creepy political figures. They just all they had to do was just manipulate their brains into thinking that they were always doing the positive right thing.
Right.
And it's the same thing like I was trying to like say earlier in the media, that I know that there's people like Rachel Maddow who are completely sadistically evil, know exactly what they're doing. And then there's
Right.
other people that are in that organization that aren't as high up. I got to meet April Moss from CBS, and she whistleblowed during the whole pandemic, and she had the balls to ask on live television where the safety was for these vaccines.
Right.
And they were chirping in on her earpiece saying, "What the hell are you doing?" And she's like, basically came out. She's like, "All right, I'm going with Project Veritas." It's just like they're just like,
Right.
"Oh, we just got taken." Like this woman. Some of the interesting things that I learned from her, bro, is and to the audience, they've given a lot of the people within the media credentials that allows them to go buy food and fuel from undisclosed locations during some kind of event. These are handed out from Homeland Security.
Right.
April Moss has been pretty vocal about this. I can give you, Robert, actually the footage from Freedom Fest when she got up and talked about it. I believe they Project Veritas did put up on their YouTube page as well. But she got frightened as soon as they were handed that during the pandemic and knew instantly something was up. And
Right.
she was one of the few people that had the balls to just completely say, you know what, screw my career, my children's life, and whatever's going on right now matters more. And so she actually took that chance. And there's always people out there that have that. You get a like, even if you're working in a low level like area of a company and they send you out an email, you can do a lot of damage by just like taking a picture of that and leaking it out and giving it to the right people, and there's a lot of people that are eager to like take this information, whether it be even people like here, like Robert. I'm sure he would like eagerly, so even in your own home like area, you can actually do works of good and be empowered by
Right.
just contributing. Honestly, it seems scary at first, but it's like, what do you got to lose? Honestly, at this point, like they're already destroyed so much of our economic freedom. Uh, our health freedom has been destroyed. I know I don't know about you, man, but I never want to go into an ER for cancer or anything. I'd rather just die in my house by myself to be at this point, because I don't trust them. Like how do I know if they do some kind of surgery, they're not going to inject me with this mRNA technology without my permission? There are
Right.
evil people within these like institutions right now that are literally believe that they're doing what's right by doing these things. They
Yeah.
become the evil scientists. It's
Right.
so messed up.
Well, and they also become commissioned, right? So like it's like because they're believing that they're doing good, but also at the same time, they're also drawing a paycheck, and that's how they're going to take care of their kids. That's how they're going to, you know what I mean? It's such a devious system, um, and it creates this like layer of irresponsibility, I guess. You know, it's horrible, man. It's horrible. What like I said back like earlier. It's about trust, and the trust once it's violated, um, it can be violated all the way down the line, and it's horrible. Like ah man, it upsets me. It gets me in a very bad place when I think
You
about how the violation of trust is so prominent.
weren't you bringing up last time that we like how we rely on people, um, like for like doing elevators, right? Like we trust those people that are actually working on the elevators and fixing those things. Like every day you're trusting people on such a high level.
Right,
You trust people. We trust people that are taking care of the traffic stops here in the United States. We trust people to get us our mail, to actually keep the infrastructure alive.
right, and to make
You know,
sure that your house doesn't burn down because the electrical grid is good. You know, like there's
yeah,
there's experts and people, and there's certain aspects of trust there that are implicit. Like it's there. Like without them, the thing doesn't work. Like the big thing doesn't work. Um, and it's it's that part of the mechanism that's broken right now in our society, like geopolitically, and also on the health front, especially on the health front, like that. It, like the trust has been deferred to things like Twitter and to social accreditation, like social media and what have you. It, it's
Right.
it's fucking twisted, man. It's absolutely fucking twisted. Like Jordan Peterson right now, like he's not a practicing psychologist, and he's making waves in social media. He's pretty fucking smart. Like as far as smart people go, he's
Yeah.
pretty much one of the smartest people I think right now, like on the YouTubes and what have you. And yet they're threatening to take his license away if he doesn't go to a re-education camp. How fucking Nazi does that sound?
Sounds extremely Nazi. I mean, you're telling someone that they don't have the right to have their own opinion, and this is a person that literally has a clinical opinion. If
Yeah,
whether your feelings, I know that a lot of people like do give an eye to him because he was working with the EU at one point, but there's a point where when you're not no longer useful to these people, they throw
right,
you away,
right.
and not everyone gets to stay in that club, and that's something like when they start using somebody as a well to communicate to the rest of us like look, we're going to take one of your most popular psychologists of your time and throw him into an education camp whether he wants it or not because we need to educate you all that pronouns matter more than anything.
Could you imagine if he did cooperate and went to a re-education camp? How do you think that would work out for the person re-educating him? Like honestly, like ask yourself this. Like what do you expect to get out of that exchange? Do you know what I mean? Like who's
And
going to be re-educated? Will this be done by force? Will this just be like sitting in a classroom? Like how would this be
to
attained? You know what I mean? Like what the
how
fuck are you expecting out of this? Like they
I know
know.
what they're expecting. I think they would just drug the living hell out of you so when you come out you don't ever speak again.
I
Because
I
the
think
reason
I think they know for certain that he would not comply,
yeah.
and he's gonna fight back the way that he's doing, and he did it well, by the way, because he had his daughter, Michaela, who, by the way, is a fucking smoke show. She is hot. Anyway, but um, that is besides the point. Yeah, no, she interviewed him. She has her own podcast too, and very successful one, might I add. Anyway, but like she interviewed her father, and and really talked about the certain points of how this has no longer like resembling like a democratic environment. It's resembling like a technocratic one instead, and
Yeah.
it's very 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 what's the word I'm looking for, fucked up. like how this isn't countered by outrage. I don't know how, in a world where we have social media and you could have so many people step up and try to like put you on the cross and like completely fuck you up, and yet why isn't there public outrage in his defense? This is one of the things that drives me nuts.
Right. Or if there it is, it would have been well. A lot of people like to jump online, and that's how they do their discourse, right? They'll hop on Twitter and then they'll bitch there, and it's like I mean, we all know eventually that's what they want you to do is just to never leave your home or do anything. Just as long as you're actually just on the internet doing stuff, you're less effective,
Right.
So and that's the problem is like it's not people don't know when to protest and how to protest and when they should be going out on and doing certain things, and that's what really freaks out governments is when people become autonomous and they behave more like well with intelligence, and they're
Right.
making like they start playing the chess game a little bit, and then they see that and they're like, oh, we have to back off now.
Right.
Because the thing is, these people throughout the history, they don't give up. They just slowly they try to change the tune and everything. But it is interesting that there's not a lot more outcry. And I was actually pointing that out to my mother. I was like, you should see this, mom, like, because she's actually more on the liberal side if
Yeah.
we go into politics, right?
Right.
But she's not for any of this whole like LGBTQXYZ nonsense. No one cares about what people want to do in their damn bedroom. It's
No.
when
No. Yeah.
it's when your sexual fetishes have your sexual addictions have become your 100% your lifestyle, and that's what you like view as a relationship. Like, I mean, this is, I mean, it goes back to that whole the pretty mice, the whole mouse utopia thing, where there's some of the rats that are becoming homosexual, some of them started being very pretty rats, right? They were just like bathing themselves all the time. They had no, you have the different like sets of people breaking off.
Right.
um but we've seen like if they can get one behavior faceted, and that's what they're doing. We always knew that they would use sex. I think there was only like the only person that can
Or
think of
or
history.
or, or lack thereof. Like.
Right. Yeah. No, because they don't want. Well, they don't want that attraction at all. I mean,
Right.
that's the whole point of another point of drugs. Actually, is like you can remove like your even want or need. You give somebody a
Right.
little bit of ecstasy, they'll never be able to like. Well, it's hard to if anyone's ever tried those kind of like MDMA. You're not really capable of performing during it, unless you got like something that's going to enhance like the male, because the men just become flaccid, unfortunately, and they can use these drugs to like make people feel like they're loved or having like it's like Adderall or Ritalin or any of this stuff. Those are just a
Yeah.
couple salts away from methamphetamine, so you just got a big dopamine rush. You
Right.
give people a cocktail like they do in Brave New World, where they take soma, which
Right.
is another code word for actually for hallucinogens and an
Right.
altered state of consciousness, right?
Right.
It's so cunning.
There is a conversation there regarding psychedelics versus amphetamines and dopamine uptake. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I MDMA is slightly psychedelic, so there might be another fundamental usage for it.
Oh
How
yeah, oh
how
absolutely.
However, yeah, I see what you're saying though. Like I totally understand what you mean. Like it's like there's like every generation has an influx of a thing, like a drug that will be impending. Like, like in the 80s it was crack. In like well, in the 80s it was cocaine, and then it was crack. You know what I mean? And then we had the opiates, and then there's always been like this wave of drugs that are influencing the subculture of society. So like you have rock and roll, well, you got punk music, you got, hip hop. Well, each one of them had their own analogous kind of thing that they did. Um,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like they each crowd had its own little thing, and then it was the raves in the '90s. We had the
Yep.
raves.
Like
Yeah,
I'm bringing up the raves right now.
right.
This is
Hang on,
right now like
I'm gonna get a beer while we're talking here. Hang on, I'll be right back.
go
20
ahead.
seconds. Thanks,
This is
guys.
a festival that they do. It's called Electric Forest Festival. So it's kind of like Burning Man, but they go into a forest and they get it all lit up with all these colors and everything. And yeah, you give some kids some of these hallucinogens, and then boy, are they gonna be on one hell of a journey,
I'm back.
along with all the music. I was just so this is Electric Forest Festival. It's like a Burning Man, but in a forest,
Right.
and they deck out the forest with tons of balloons and other creations. There's a lot of talk about how destructive this is to the land whenever they do it, because it's. I mean, you've got tons of people walking all over in a national forest. It's not really meant for like. I mean, look, they set up bookcases. They have story time. It's a complete. Tons of kids are high on drugs. I do not recommend really like for like a hallucinogenic setting. Like you should really be taking it a little bit more seriously than like going to these like giant festivals. First off, like it's so mind altering that you can psychologically damage yourself if you're not in the right state mentally.
Right.
And then you're around a bunch of other people that you don't know, so that's another uncomfortable feeling. And then you're not in your home, right? So you don't have a comfortable place to return. But some people obviously can just are completely content with it. But if you're doing it spiritually, I think it's more of like something a little bit different. I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to say like that all drugs are 100% bad. It's more of, as Robert was kind of putting together, that it's how it's used and in combination of what's done, and whether you're taking it as a spiritual experience, and then to know that, like, there's a difference between hallucinations and then actual spiritual things that are happening, and you'll know, because like it's like your entire
Oh, you'll
out of
know.
body experience.
You'll know. You know. You just know. And it's hard to actually communicate that to somebody who hasn't had a psychedelic experience. So like it's really difficult to put that into perspective. Like, but it is definitely a thing that is overlooked, and that's on the good side of things, like the good side of uh, medicine, I guess, if that's what we want to call it. And then there's the bad side of it. Like the bad side is the addictive quality, like and other you know other drugs, like like opiates and amphetamines. You know, I got into an argument one time with somebody over like the idea of speed. It's like, well, that's what they prescribe to ADD kids, like Adderall and like it's basically speed. Like it's like it's just I don't know. Anyway, I won't get into all that, but
We should probably get back to the World Economic Forum. I apologize, I've been jumping everywhere.
Don't worry, I do this all the time. Jump around.
This is interesting. The geopolitical fragmentation will drive geoeconomic warfare and heighten the risk of multi-domestic conflicts. Economic policies will be used defensively to build self-sufficiency and sovereignty from rival powers, but will also increasingly be deployed offensively to constrain the rise of others. The rise of others.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, that case in point, Trudeau is a member of the WEF. And look up the Young World Leaders program, I think it's called. I think it's a Young World Leaders program head up by Klaus Schwab at the WEF.
I think I got it. I am going to bring the screen onto it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, this will put the toast in your toaster.
Look what we have. We had a Klaus himself.
The Young Global Leaders.
Who are we? Young Global Leaders is a community and accelerator of dynamic community of exceptional people with the vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change in the world. I don't know if they're driving positive change. It looks very terrible to me.
They can sell it.
Our growing members of more than 1,400 members of alumni in 120 nationalities, including civic and business innovators, entrepreneurs, technology pioneers, educators, activists, artists, journalists, and more. I love how they leave out the politicians.
Right.
Aligned with the World Economic Forum's mission, we seek to drive public-private cooperation in the global public interest. We are united by the belief that today's pressing problems present an opportunity to build a better future across sectors and boundaries. Oh, I like how they, under Impact, it's called the Druid Collective.
Oh, the Druid Collective. That's not pagan or nothing. And hey, nothing against pagans. My best friend is a pagan, so like.
How much you want to bet? So that they got one of their videos like, look, we're helping people that couldn't walk anymore walk with technology. They'll be a cyborg soon. All right, here we go. Meet our members. Oh, doesn't he look like a winner right there next to the women? What a creepy smile.
This looks like a fucking Uber driver.
Yeah. Badron, Gardi, Naive, Sasha, Natalia, Arkiri, Matthew. He looks like an actor. They all look like they're like,
He does. These all look like actor shots, dude. Like these look totally like actor profiles. Like
I like how they don't have, like. All right. Oh, you can search through them. Here we go. Now we're going.
All right. So Justin Trudeau will be in there. Let's go see what that looks like.
How do I spell it? TEA?
Trudeau. Oh, true with a U. Yeah.
All right.
Trudeau. Deuoe. U. U. D-
UEO?
no, fuck.
Sorry.
E. E. E.
All
E.
right, I'll just.
EAU. Okay.
No?
No, that was two T's.
Oh, look, it's just bringing up what. They took him off.
Oh, they took him off, did they? Well, put up Trudeau. Maybe that'll be in there. Put up Castro. Maybe they got him up as they got him up as Castro.
Sorry, I did not mean for there to be the two T's. My computer or keyboard was not connecting. I'm not getting anything.
Oh, funny.
Let's see.
I was trying to take control of your desktop there. Just like let me do it. No, no, I'm just saying that.
Well, no, I'm not giving you. We'll just.
That's interesting. Okay, Freeland. Type in Freeland. See if Chrystia Freeland comes up.
I had that still open on one of my. Oh, I closed it. FRI.
Just free. I think Freeland. No.
With the D.
No, like two E's.
Two E's. Will you let me take?
No. Freeland.
Oh. Jeez, I'm so terrible with these, like.
Oh, I hate names. Freeland.
That?
No, Freeland. See what happens. There she is. That's our Minister of Finance here. Look at that, darling.
I know. I'm going to start using Google just to recorrect. So let me. Come on. Give me the. Pick up the keyboard.
I don't know why Trudeau's not there now. Suddenly they scrubbed him. They took him off because he's I'm sure of it.
I'm pretty sure I typed that. All right, let's try it. I'll go back. Where is it? Young leaders. Where's the tab? There we go.
Look at that, darling.
Yeah, they took him off.
They did, eh?
Yeah.
Nah.
Maybe it's because he got in trouble with China.
Well, it's funny. I'll tell you, it's funny because Pierre Poilievre, he's the next runner-up for our prime minister, and like I said, I'm in the same camp as he's the best we got going. If a guy were to vote, you know what I mean? He's the best thing we got going right now.
You know what? It might be because he's not young, and that's what they're polling right now.
Yeah.
None of these people are really young, so I don't know.
Well, Pierre Poilievre, he was at one of the Davos meetings, but he wasn't there at Davos for that purpose, apparently. So there's a little something there going on. But yeah, like I said, like Elon Musk, like it's the best game we got in town, you know.
Yeah, this is really creepy. How they're not just going after like these world leaders. These are people that are in like. We can look up any country. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Who we got? Let's go to. Where's Canada? How come Canada's not? Okay, so I guess this is North America.
PayPal.
From Texas. Here we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here we go.
Deputy Chief Financial Officer of BlackRock USA.
Oh, look at that. Up first. Up. You can't write this shit. In the immortal words of Jeff C., you cannot write this shit. Like, there it is.
She was Managing Director, Chief of Staff of Chairman and CEO and Chief of Operating Officer of BlackRock Solutions. And she's got such a trustworthy face. She reminds me of actually the character Mallory from Archer, just not as old. Head of Global Public Policy and Research, PayPal.
Right.
Let's see what else we got. Jennifer Auerbach. Managing director of
Rodriguez.
Merrill Lynch.
Merrill Lynch.
Ooh,
That's a big
yeah.
player.
Co-founder and chief medical officer of Muso. What is Muso? Who are you? Let's find out.
Well, yeah, that's another rabbit hole.
I mean, it's easy to just go through and just. This is exactly how Grace and Really Graceful does a lot of. I'm sure her research. She just types in the name and just
Yeah.
it just brings it all up, right? Jessica Aspen Ideals Festival.
If you're in touch with her, I'd love to get her on a podcast with us. Like, I'd
Yeah,
love.
I will. I'll reach out to her. I'm in her Discord actually.
I would love to like reach out and like like do a show and just get into this stuff. Like, I know she holds her cards like close to her chest, right? So she's kind of she's kind of private, but no, I think it would be wonderful to have her on.
Yeah, I'll send her a message tonight when we get off. I'll hit her up. I'll tell her to contact you.
Right on, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because since we all have Discord, I'll have her just reach out to you.
Yeah. Send her my Discord for sure.
I was actually in her original Discord back in the day. I can't remember when she had started that, and that's when how I actually met her and became a little bit closer. She had put the link out, and I think this was Jeff's idea that she do this actually, and so she put out a link on her channel, and we learned our first lesson was never just allow people just to join freely.
Right.
Like I did moderation for her, and oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many people were posting like Nazi weird stuff all over the place, just so that it was like they were trying to get the channel taken down.
I don't doubt it. Like it was, yeah. That was like in the last year, right?
It was a couple, I would say about 4 or 5 years ago, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Wow. Oh God, that was a horrible time to be alive on the internet.
Oh gosh, well that she had just around that time, I think prior to that, she exposed something on YouTube. I think it had to do with some child pornography weird stuff going on. There was some grooming. I should say grooming, not child pornography, grooming.
Grooming.
My word. There was grooming going on, and like
no CP.
She brought up made a video about it, and the BBC came after her. And like I believe that article's still up. You can go like type Really Graceful into the BBC, and it brings it up. It's the same thing they did to Tom. I'm sure you got something like it's like how the press card contacted me when they were getting like, "What are you doing? Stop teaching people how to like come after us." Like,
right.
I'm like, no, we're just beginning.
Well, for those listening, by the way, Really Graceful, you should check out her YouTube channel. Amazing videos, very good research, and very, very, very close to the heart. Like, it's very good stuff. Like, you should check it out. If you can spell Really Graceful, you'll find it on YouTube. Anyway, sorry.
I'm just going through more of this website, seeing if there's anything more. I'm sure that we're have to go through on free time, just find everything. I mean, I liked about Jeff. Next time I'll have a bunch more. Open up from.
This is a rabbit hole that you could go down for hours. Like, and anybody listening and watching, I highly recommend. Like, look at this shit. Like, it will freak you out. It will literally freak you out. I mean, if you have any sense.
Look at this image they have here for their circulars.
Yeah.
The annual awards program to celebrate, showcase, and promote circular economy innovation, bringing everything back to the whole.
Yeah, that's not imagery.
Three rings.
Right.
Rings that rule them all. What else you guys got? Which the Paso Druid collection. Maverick Collective. At the World Economic Forum annual meeting in 2014, YGL Kate Roberts and HRH Crown Princess Mette Marit of Norway founded the Maverick Collective. What is that? Oh, you don't let me click on it? Oh, you guys have gotten a little savvy, haven't you? A community of strategic philanthropists who uses their intellectual and financial, and I can't stand that word, resources to end extreme poverty by improving the health and rights of girls and women worldwide.
Okay.
I don't really have much to say to that other than like, why Why did none of these things ever like do what they say they do? Is the question. You know, like they always make it sound like it'll end poverty. We gave 60 million to help more than 300,000 women and girls in 13 countries.
Right. Uh, you know who else? You know who else is a strategic philanthropist?
Who? That's a who's game. My governor claims to be a strategic philanthropist. Oh my god.
Oh God! Between Bill Gates, I mean, jeez, yeah.
Or Schwab. I mean, he's a philanthropist.
A philanthropist.
Rodrigo Mendes and Tan Lei.
Right.
Shot in the neck while driving through Brazil in a random. What do you guys got here? The attack took place when Huber Menez was just 18. 27 years later, in 2017, he once again sat in the driving seat of a car. His team used the technology to map the electricity of the brain, allowing his brain patterns to be associated with different commands. This technology was the work of Emotive, empowering individuals to understand their brain and accelerate brain research globally. So you think that Elon Musk is the only one doing this stuff?
Oh, he's not.
Oh, I know, we know that, but you know what I'm saying, like,
yeah.
A lot of people just think that there's just one bad guy out there, and then like,
I personally don't think Elon's a bad guy. I personally don't think that he's. I think he's out of his element. He came out of the financial sector. He worked hard to get there. Wanted to do some cool shit, and
what the.
But at the end of the day, like I don't think he's a bad guy. Like I don't like to vilify people until they give me a reason to. And right now, I have more reason to think that Elon has more benefits to offer than tragedy, if that makes any sense. I don't think his internal goal is to create suffering. Like, I don't think that's his intention. He might not be schooled in the things that we know, and maybe he's learning it the hard way, like we all did going down this path. And he happens to be in a position where he can exercise judgment and create cool shit. I'm not siding with him. In a way, I am, but I agree with some of his arguments. Like, when it comes to AI, like, he is legitimately afraid of AI. It's like, we need to get in front of it. Like, if we're not in front of it, it will be too late when we react to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm simply going by his logic, where it's like if we're reacting to AI, it's already too late. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to just get in front of it. And I kind of understand that principle. And as long as it's being done for good, I'm okay with it. I would seriously jump on a starship and go to fucking Mars tomorrow. Like, hurry up, Elon. Get that shit fucking going. like, get off this planet, man. Yeah. If anything, if for any other reason than to have a good time. But that's just me.
I'm finding that I did not know that we could buy ourselves our own brain training headgear. Robert, did you know you could get hold of like your own like mind reading? And you know what's fun? You get to do little fun games. Control machines with your mind. Real-time 3D brain visualization software. Oh, it's so cool what you can do. End-to-end solution neuroscience research. Wait, just let us like tap into your brain and your neuro.
Yeah. You know what? I'm jealous of that monkey who got like banana smoothies playing Pong. I'm jealous of that monkey. Shut up.
You mean to go down that rabbit hole? Can you see that I'm looking at? I don't think it shows it on. I should show what I'm looking at here. Because it's still on the Impact it's on this thing right here. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me switch it. I'll show you what I'm looking at. I clicked on what they were talking about with this Rodrigo Mendez guy, and just to show you some of the stuff that the World Economic Forum has been working on here. I apologize about that. Now I know how this works. I'm learning. It's a learning experience. This is the Emotive website where you can buy your own headgear that has 5 to 14 sensors. It's a 5-channel wireless EEG headset. Shop now. Emotive Insight. I am not joking.
The future is now. Where do I sign up?
Like, radio. This is like Bluetooth 5.0. So they've been working on this a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
Improve radio connectivity, improve battery life for up to 20 hours. I'm glad you got that going for us. Protective travel cases that you can play your video games where you want to.
Yeah.
5 channels.
If you're lucky enough to travel, of course.
Yeah. Or you might think you're traveling. You might just be wearing this thing. Look,
Fair
this
enough.
girl, this lovely woman is controlling this contraption with her mind. Ooh.
Or she just I think she's just looking at it.
Endless possibilities. Here's a video game. You can train yourself with these softwares. Make the cube move on the computer, like.
Suck a dick.
Brain control. Controls machines with your mind, triggers events with your thoughts using BCI mental commands. Tune applications in real time to respond to your cognitive state using BCI's performance metrics. Well, Robert, you won't have to play a guitar in the future. We'll just, like, me and you will just put on this headset and the guitar will just start playing itself.
Right. Well.
Data streams. View your real-time performance metrics. View facial expressions and motion sensor data streams from your headset.
God. Can you imagine?
Creepy.
Right?
Yeah. Like, imagine being an actor and they give you, like, one of these things, right? They install it in your brain and you're like, so people that don't have the ability to be consciously aware of what their body's doing, which is a lot of humanity. That's why actors are amazing that they get to that point.
Well, okay, let's analyze that, what you just said. Like, think about this, like data streams. Like, if they actually have the data streams of all of your joints, your physical muscles, and everything else, if those data streams can be parsed, you could literally build a 3-dimensional model and actually act. You could literally act in an environment, like in a pseudo virtual environment, and act with those data points and literally do it from another point in space. Like, it's pretty fucking brilliant, actually. Like, if I'm being honest, it's pretty awesome.
No, it's true. Yeah. With practice, like, everything that you can obtain, man. And here they are, though, like, showing, like, hey, with the technology, like, we'll make this happen instantly for you. We'll turn you into a god. That's what everyone thought when, like, all electronic music started going to computers. Like, oh, finally, I don't need to know much about music. And then they all go to learn, like, it's a little bit, like, 10 times harder. You gotta know music on top of knowing engineering at that point, right? It just becomes a headache.
Right.
Like, how you balance everything out, and then, like, you watch all these people making fake YouTube videos, like, I want attention.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer, and it's like, I don't think a lot of the, like, it's out there in books. It's called.
I could run pitch filters, you know.
Man, I can't believe we can buy this stuff. Let's see here. Let's go back.
Wow.
Oh, I get 10% off if I buy right now.
Mm. Why aren't you buying it right now?
So here's our 32 crazy headset.
Oh God, that thing looks, yeah, that's stylish.
Oh, it connects wirelessly to PCs through Bluetooth. It's got a 9-hour battery. It's optimal fitting. It fits your head, everybody.
It fits everybody's head optimally.
Oh. You can just use saline or gel. Oh, that's wonderful.
Wow. Interesting.
And be hydrated on or off the head. Oh, isn't that wonderful? You can hydrate your brain chips on your head while you wear your head chip. Validation of Unimodal Flex ERP research. Dr. Neek Williams and Dr. Nick
Badcock.
School of Cognitive Science. Zachary University compared the mode of epoch flex saline collated with neuroscan synapse clinical EG systems showed equivalents for auditory and visual. Wow, so it can like map what you're hearing.
I
So by
guess.
trigger hardware, that's kind of like, oh wow, yeah. Look, they got like a clock here, a watch. It looks like. That's trippy.
We're there.
This is a PDF.
We're there. I will be having DJ from Level 9 News, and she's done a lot of, well, she's her like as a career, she used to be a data analyst, and she used to work with the government. So she's got a lot of insight to how the human terrain model works and how that's utilized with AI. Um, I'd yeah, we're gonna get into that stuff, and hopefully she can join me tomorrow. That's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about. And Press Reset, by the way, I talked to him.
Oh, dope.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if he's tuned into this particular podcast, but yeah, no, we talked. I'm gonna try and wrangle him in there tomorrow for tomorrow's show and DJ. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, I just stopped sharing. Okay, I wasn't sure. Let's see. Do we go back to lower risk report? Let's see, we got a few more to go over. I mean, we're almost done through that page since we're jumping around, and I clicked on brain scan stuff. There we go. We read that one. So technology will exacerbate inequalities while risk from cybersecurity will remain a constant concern. I thought they were all about equality and diversity and inclusion, but it sounds like we're all going to be excluded in ways from technology while we're all getting cyberly hacked at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
So the technology sector will be among the central targets for stronger industrial policies and enhanced state intervention spurred by the state and military expenditure, as well as private investment, research, and development into emerging technologies, and continue to pace over the next decade, yielding advancements in AI, quantum computing, biotechnology, that's the scary one, among the other technologies. Well, they're all scary. AI is just quantum computing, there's so much they can do with that too. However, the rapid development and deployment of new technologies, which often comes with limited protocols governing their use, poses its own set of risks. The ever-increasing intertwining of technologies with the critical functioning of societies is exposing populations to direct domestic threats. You mean like the guys you send out to like attack our sub-power stations? Jesus.
Do us a favor. Open a new tab and look up Joseph Licklider, IPTO. It might come up as a Wikipedia thing. That's the Information Protocol Technology Office.
Flick Rider?
Licklider, like
Lick.
Yeah, LYK.
I called him up. All right. And what am I looking for? I got him in.
The IPTO is the Information Protocol Techniques Office. And it's basically what we're looking at is the ARPANET. And when we find that white paper,
I think I might, let me see. Sure, this tab, all right. The Universal Network.
Check this out.
It seems reasonable to envision for a time, 10 or 15 years hence, a thinking center that will incorporate the functions of present-day libraries together with anticipated advances in information storage and retrieval. The picture readily enlarges itself into a network of such centers connected to one another by a wide band of communication lines and to individual users by leased wire services. In such a system, the speed of the computers would be balanced and the cost of the gigantic memories of the sophisticated programs would be divided by the number of users.
Note the year.
1960.
Right? Go on.
Joseph Carl Robin Licklider created the idea of the universal network, spread his vision throughout the IPTO, and inspired his successors to realize his dreams by inventing the ARPANET, which led to the internet. He also developed the concepts that led to the ideas of the netizen. What is a netizen?
Wow.
Let's just, for the
Yeah.
hell of it.
Go down the rabbit hole. Be right back.
Oh,
20
wait,
seconds.
Just open netizen. In April 1968, Licklider and Robert Taylor published a groundbreaking paper, The Computer as a Communication Device in the Science and Technology, portraying a forthcoming universal network as more than a service to provide transmission of data, but also as a tool whose value came from the generation of new information through interaction with its users. In other words, the old golden rule applied to an as yet unbuilt network world, where each net citizen contributes more to the virtual community than they receive, producing something more powerful and useful than anyone could ever create by themselves. Michael Hueben, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, a widely read internet pioneer, encountered this spirit still going strong in his studies of the online internet communities in the 1990s, leading to his coinage of the term net citizen or netizen. Newcomers to the internet usually experience the same benefit of participating in a larger virtual world and adopt the spirit of the netizen as it's handed down to the generations. It cannot be a coincidence that so many internet technologies are built specifically to leverage the power of community information sharing, such as the Unsent News Group, IRC, MUDs, and mailing lists. The concept of the netizen is also the foundation for the motivation of a netiquette.
Yeah.
Give me a break. Here we go.
Rabbit hole.
Am I still? Is it still showing it?
Yep.
Okay. So netiquette. Every few months, a plague descends on the Oh my God. Let me start over. Every few months, a plague descends on the Usenet, called the spelling flame. It starts out when someone posts an article correcting the spelling or the grammar in some article. The immediate result seems to be for everyone on the net to turn into a sixth grade English teacher and pick apart each other's postings for a few weeks. This is not productive. This tends to cause people who used to be friends to get angry with each other. You fucking cocksuckers.
Right?
It's like. They're like, we know you're gonna start policing each other because they're like.
You can't write this shit. Like, you can't write it. Like, this is. Well,
1983 to 1995.
I'm telling you, man. Okay, so go back to the IPTO.
All right, I think
It was in the last page you were on.
Give me the mouse, computer. Going back. Hold on. All right.
This rabbit hole has other rabbit holes. Okay, so IPTO.
Let's see, where is this? Lickiter started a scientific career as an experimental psychologist professor. Should I be looking further down for this?
No. Oh no.
Keep
At the top. Second. First sentence.
All right.
Joseph Carl Robnet Lick Lighter.
Started a scientific career as an experimental psychologist professor at MIT, interested in psychoacoustics.
Spread his vision throughout the IPTO.
Oh, where am I looking? I'm so stoned right now. Oh, here it is, up here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
Joseph Carl Robnet Lickler. I'm done saying his name. Robnet. Joseph spread his vision throughout the IPTO and inspired his successors to realize his dream by inventing the ARPANET, which led to the internet. He also developed the concepts that led to the idea of the netizen.
So, click on IPTO.
Information Processing Techniques Officer. The IPTO funded the research that led to the development of the ARPANET. It was variously headed over the years. Variously headed over the years by Licklider, Sutherland, Taylor, and Roberts, as described below. In Licklider, in 1962, I'm getting dyslexic now. Jack Ruina, director of ARPA, hired JCR Licklider to be the first director of the new Information Process Techniques Officer. The original mandate of the office was to extend the research carried out into computerization of air defense by SAGE program to other military command and control systems. It's particular that IPTO was built on SAGE's development of one of the first wide area computer networks for cross-country radar defense systems. A build survivable electronic network to interconnect the key DoD sites or Department of Defense sites at the Pentagon, Cheyenne Mountain, and HQ. I have no idea what SAC or SAC is. This is long before the cable and fiber networks we have access today. So before you guys had cable, they were already had mastered this satellite technology.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. IPTO funded research into the advanced computer network technologies and commissioned 13 research groups to perform research into technologies related to human-computer interaction and distributed systems. Each group was given a budget 30 to 40 times as large as a normal research grant. Jesus. Complete discretion is, as to its use and to access the state of art of technology at the following institutions. I just real quickly want to apologize to all our fellow Christian following that I'm using the Lord's name in vain, and I will stop that. Carnegie Mellon University, MIT, Rand Corporation, Stanford Research Institute. Why am I not surprised Stanford is involved in this? Corporation, University of California at Berkeley, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and University of South Carolina, and University of Utah. So, what was it? In the 19... When did the radar first come out? It was in World War II. They built it up on, like, Hawaii.
I think it was 1930 something.
Was it in the 30s?
I think it was in the 30s, yeah, where radar was developed. And they used, actually, it's really funny that you brought that up because the radar technology they used was low frequency. And the low frequency stuff is coming back again. And that's what's in the 5G network. But we'll talk about that another day. But go on. You're doing great.
You're right. It's 1935.
1935, right.
Yep. So in 1963, Licklider funded a research project through the IPTO headed by Robert Fano at MIT called Project MAC, which explored the potential for establishment of communities on time-sharing computers. The project monitored interactions between a community of users using the time-shared communication and found that the technology encouraged the establishment of real, if somewhat unique, electronic relationships among people across distances. This example had a long-lasting effect on the IPTO and a wider research community as a prototype of benefits of widespread networking. Licklider's vision of universal network greatly influenced his successor at the IPTO, Ivan Sutherland, Bob Taylor, and the MIT researcher Lawrence Roberts, and shaped the subsequent research that led to the development of the Internet. Sutherland in July 1964, in July 1964, Licklider went to work for IBM and handed over dictatorship of the
directorship.
Directorship of the IPTO to its second director. Well, it's becoming a dictatorship. Ivan Sutherland, who had created the revolutionary Sketchpad program from the storing computer displays in memory where they could be modified, processed, copied, and redrawn. Sutherland's programs enabled the creation of the field of computer graphics that has led to the graphical displays available today. In 1965, Sutherland gave Lawrence Roberts an MIT and IPTO contract to further develop the technology of a computer networking. Roberts and Thomas Merrill then implemented the first packet exchange by dial-up telephone connection between a TX2 computer and an MIT and Q32 computer in California. Taylor, in 1966, Sutherland handed over his directorship. Sorry, obviously we all know what I have in my mind right now.
Right.
Dictatorships. The directorship of IPTO to its third director, Robert Taylor, who had been powerfully influenced by Licklider and was coincidentally, like Licklider, a researcher in psychoacoustics. We should, just for the audience, I'll define what a
psychoacoustics are, yeah.
Acoustic is. According to the definition on our lovely Google, psychoacoustics is a scientific study of sound perception and audiology. This includes speech, music, and other sound frequencies that travel through our ears. Knowing the limits of human hearing is a good way to familiarize yourself with psychoacoustics. Electronic artists are extremely well versed in this. Producers and music are extremely well versed in psychoacoustics. I'm pretty versed in this. You can't hear beyond 16 kHz. You can't hear below
80?
32 hertz.
Like 80 hertz?
Well, you can, 80 hertz would be more correct. You feel can feel all the way up down to 32 from
Yeah.
ambient 32.
But then you're
You
feeling
can't.
it. You're feeling it, not
Yeah,
hearing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's true. That's it'll feel like a pressure. Actually, in the headphones I have right now, they do have sub monitors in them, and since you can't hear it, you'll actually will feel direct pressure on your ears.
Right,
Like it's a really trippy feeling, and that's how I can tell like how heavy sub bass is and going to be in a concert. But
right.
we'll go back to this research. Where do we leave off here? Taylor had three different terminals in his IPTO office that connected three different research sites and realized his architecture would severely limit his ability to scale and access to multiple sites. He dreamed of connecting a single terminal to a network with an access to multiple sites, and from his position in the Pentagon, he could lobby for the funding to implement his vision. In 1966, DARPA head Charlie Hertzfeld promised Taylor $1 million for an IPTO build, a disruptor communications network, if he could get it organized. Taylor was impressed by Roberts' work and asked him to come on board to lead the effort. I don't think they, whatever. When Roberts resisted, Taylor asked Hertzfeld to get the director of Lincoln Labs to pressure Roberts to reconsider, which eventually caused Roberts to relent and join the IPTO as chief scientist in December 1966. I did not realize DARPA was getting involved with all this way back in the day. We have to do a lot
Yeah.
more research into DARPA. I mean, that goes with my age. I am only 36.
Well. You know that like DARPA wasn't always DARPA. They just dropped on the D for defense,
Right.
right?
They were they were just
The D stands for defense. It was always ARPA, and then to change the public opinion of how that organization looked, they created the defense thing, but it was ARPA. Anyway, go on.
yeah. The Advanced Research Project Agency gained the D when it was renamed Defense Advanced Research Project in 1972. So when they were referring to this back in 1966, it was ARPA. So this is for a scholarly article, they should have left it as ARPA. But for context of people understanding it, possibly today they left it as DARPA so that you would go down the rabbit hole and look. So I give them props. All right. When Roberts gave the report titled Resource Sharing Computer Networks describing the plan to build the ARPANET, which right there we got ARPA, to Taylor on June 3rd, 1968, Taylor approved it 18 days later on June 21st, leading director to the ARPANET's creation 14 months later. Roberts, 3 years later, when the ARPANET was well on its way, and Taylor handed over the directorship to the IPTO to Roberts in September 1969. And we know how Elon loves 69s.
Right?
Not that Elon has nothing to do with this. I just whenever I see 69, I think of Elon because
Yeah.
he's obsessed with 69. Lick leader, when Roberts left ARPA to become CEO of Telenet, Lick leader returned again as IPTO director in October 1973 to complete the organization's life cycle.
Like that was the generation. Now go back to that other link. Now the ARPANET. So that was the IPTO. So go back to that other link.
Give me 1 second. Let me find the.
No worries. We're educating people right now. This is what we do. I mean, it's interesting because we were the mechanism of our own prison, of our own imprisonment. Like, we created the internet, and it's going to be proven here.
I was in charge of the software, and where we naturally running a bit late, September 1st was Labor Day, so I knew I had a couple extra days to debug the software. Moreover, I had heard that BBN was having some timing troubles within the software, so I had some hope they'd miss the ship date. And I figured that first some Honeywell people would install the hardware. IMPs were built on the Honeywell 516 in those days. I'm assuming that's some kind of computer.
Yeah, it's a computer system, yeah.
And then BBN people would come in a few days later to shake down the software, an easy couple of weeks of grace. BBN fixed their timing trouble, airshipped the IMP, and it arrived on our loading dock on Saturday, August 30th. They arrived with the IMP wheeled into our computer room, plugged it in, and the software restarted from where it had been when the plug was pulled in Cambridge. Still Saturday, August 30th, panic time at University of California, I'm assuming UCLA, University of California. ARPANET was the first wide area packet switch network. The Eve network that was evolved into the internet we know and love today. Well, I don't know if I love it completely. I prefer the old internet. You could find out whenever you wanted. You weren't censored. You garbage. It's like, remember the old YouTube, Robert? Like you could like in 2010 there was so many documentaries. There was like, man, I remember even like in 2014 I could still go back and find like old videos on the Lady Gaga, at the MTV Awards and her doing that sacrificial like ritual and stuff. It's incredible how much stuff
Yeah.
they've removed from people. But
I actually almost think that she was. I think she was more of a troll. Like, if I'm being honest, I think she was more of a troll. Like, rather
very well
than,
could be.
yeah. But anyway, yeah. Going back to this.
No, the real troll is Beyonce. I can't stand it. You think I'm hot with all that Illuminati mess? I'm just like, well, yeah, I do think you look hot with that Illuminati mess on you, girl. Like, but you know what? I wouldn't go near you.
If you love it, put a ring on it,
Yep. Yeah.
bitches.
ARPANET was the first wide area packet switching network of the Eve network that was evolved into the internet we know today. The ARPANET was originally created by the IPTO under the sponsorship of DARPA and conceived and planned by Lick Lear, just going to say Leak, Lawrence Roberts, and others described earlier in this section. ARPANET, and so the internet, was born on August 30th, 1969. There we go with that magic date again, when
Yep.
BBN delivered the first interface message processor to Leonard Kleinrock's Network Measurement Center at UCLA. This was long before commercial internet providers came onto the scene. However, the IMP was built from a Honeywell DDP 516 computer with a 12K memory, designed to handle the ARPANET network interface. In a famous piece of internet lore, on the side of the crate, a hardware designer at BBN named Ben Barker had written "Do it to it, Truett," in tribute to the BBN engineer Truett Thatch, who traveled with the computer to UCLA on a plane. The UCLA team responsible for installing the IMP and creating the first ARPANET node included graduate students Vinton Cerf, Steve Crocker, Bill Naylor, John Postel, and Mike Wingfield. Wingfield had built the hardware interface between the UCLA computer and the IMP. The machines were connected within a couple of days of delivery, and the IMP was communicating with a local NMC host, an SDS Sigma 7 computer running the
Sex.
operating system. Messages were successfully exchanged, and the
Fuck
one computer,
Windows.
ARPANET was like
Fucking
SDX.
that's a great marketing campaign. Like, just sell sex. Like, what the fuck is up?
A picture of Leonard Kleinrock with the first ARPANET IMP is shown below. Click on the picture to blah 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 large it. All right. And I was hoping. So there is this. I'll go back.
So on Wikipedia, look up the ARPANET on Wikipedia and check out their entry there. And we might find the ARPANET. Like, look up ARPANET. Like, that will probably pull up. Okay.
The Advanced Research Projects Agency Network was the first packet switch network. It was distributed and controlled and one of the first networks to implement the TCP/IP protocol suite. Both technologies became the technical foundation of the internet. The ARPANET was established by the Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA. There you go. The
Yeah.
United States Department of Defense, which everyone should know. The internet always was a dream child of the military.
The internet has been and has always been like a function of the defense strategy. Like, anyway, go on.
Building on the ideas at JCR leader, Bob Taylor initiated the ARPANET project in 1966 to enable resource sharing between remote computers. Taylor appointed Larry Roberts as program manager. Roberts made the key decision about the network design. He incorporated Donald Davies' concepts and designs for packet switching, and sought input from Paul Baran. ARPA awarded the contract to build a network to key decisions about the network design. I'm sorry, to Bolt. I messed up there. ARPA awarded the contract build to the network to Bolt Bernick, and Newman, who developed the first protocol for the network. Roberts engaged Leonard Kleinrock at ULCA to develop mathematical methods for analyzing the packet network technology. The first computers were connected in 1969, and the network control protocol was implemented in 1970. The network was declared operational in 1971. Further, software development enabled remote login, file transfer, and email. The network expanded rapidly, and operational control passed from to the Defense of Communications Agency in 1975. Internetworking research in the early 1970s led Bob Kahn at DARPA and Vint Cerf at Stanford University and later DARPA formulated the transmission control program, which incorporated concepts from the French Cyclades project. Let's see what Cyclades is.
Mm-hmm.
The Cyclades is a computer network, French pronunciation, Cyclad, Cyclads. Okay, so I was saying it wrong. Was a French research network created by the early 1970s, and it was one of the pioneering networks with the concept of packet switching, unlike the ARPANET, was explicitly designed to facilitate internetworking. All right, that's interesting. Internetworking research in the early 1970s led Bob and Bob at DARPA, incorporated the concepts of Cyclades project. As this work process, a protocol was developed by which multiple separate networks could join together in a network of networks. Version 4 of the TCP/IP was installed in the ARPANET for production use in 1983 after the Department of Defense made it standard for all military computer networking. Access to the ARPANET was expanded in 1981. The National Science Foundation funded the Computer Science Network. In the early 1980s, in the early 1980s, the NSF funded the establishment of national supercomputing centers at several universities, provided network access and network interconnectivity with the NSFN Net project in 1986. That's the year I was born. Wonderful. The ARPANET was formally decommissioned in 1990 after partnerships with the telecommunication and computer industry had assured private sector expansion and future commercialization of an expanded worldwide network known as the Internet.
Yeah, and that also involves CERN. So go back to, okay, so in Wikipedia, do a search for the IPTO now. You're going to love this. Information Processing Techniques Office.
The Information Processing Technique Office, originally Command and Control Research.
What? Yeah. Command and Control Research was the original name of the Information Processing Techniques Office that built the ARPANET. Anyway, go on.
Was part of the Defense and Advanced Research Projects Agency of the United States Department of Defense. Origin, according to ARPA-sponsored history of the organization, IPTO grew from distinctly unpromising beginning. The Air Force had a large, expensive computer, which was intended to back up the SAGE air defense program, but no longer needed, and it had too few required tasks to maintain to describe or desired staffing level at its main software contractor, the System Development Corporation. Accordingly, under the Secretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, decided to capitalize on these sunk costs and the SDC expertise by standing up an ARPA program in command and control research. It was accordingly begun in June 1961 with an initial budget of $5.8 million, which, man, can you imagine what that would be today?
Fuck, forget about it.
Shipping installation and checking out the computer at SDC facilities, the new ARPA program was envisioned to support research on conceptual aspects of command and control. Most fortunately, ARPA then hired JCR Licklider away from Bolt, Bernick, and Newman. It's like back and forth with these people to be IPTO's first director. Licklider started work in October 1962. Until his term ended in 1964, he initiated three of the most important developments of informed technology: the creation of computer science department of its several major universities, time sharing, and networking. By the late 1990s, the promotion of the concept had inspired primitive versions of the vision called ARPANET, which expanded into the network of networks in the 1970s that became the Internet. How many times are they like the network of the networks of the network, and that's just within the network, like process the network?
Right?
There was a belief in the heads of a number of people a small number of people, that people could really become very much more effective in their thinking and decision making. Isn't that interesting? You can become
Right.
more effective in your thinking and decision
This,
making.
this
So
this is the nuts and bolts of where this is now we're into the end game. Go on, man. Go on.
if it's a report of computer systems, good displays and so forth, good data bases, computation at your command. Oh my god. I'm thinking of that in like such a level that like, musically, writing, producing film, art, like AI art, like that's what they're like talking about, computation at your command. Now you have the command to just type a few little words and the computer will create the image for you. God, I can't imagine how dumb children will be in the future. It was kind of an image that we were working toward the realization of, and it wasn't really a command or control research program. My ass, like you guys didn't know that's what it would be. It was an interactive computer program. And my belief was, and still is, you can't really do command and control outside the framework of such a thing. Of course, that wasn't believed by all the people in the command and control field. Well, no shit, because you guys went far with it. The leak leader quickly set about detaching the program from its sole reliance on the surplus Air Force computer and single industrial contractor. I am tired, folks. I have had a very long day. I did a workout before I jumped on with Robert, and those hit workouts like really tucker your brain out.
No worries.
Essentially, what I did on the command and control thing was to try and figure out where the best academic computer sensors were, and then go systematically about trying to get research contracts set up with them. We got to get into colleges, aiming for 3 to 4 majors ones, and then a lot of little ones. Under Leak Leader's direction, the stand mission of IPTO was to create a new generation of computational and informational systems that processes or possesses the capabilities far beyond those of current systems. These cognitive systems are systems that they know what they're doing. They made this difficult to read in the first place. I don't know who wrote this. They need an editor.
Yeah, right.
Will be able to reason, use substantial amounts of appropriately represented knowledge, will learn from the experience and improve their performance over time, will be capable of explaining themselves and taking naturally expressed directions from humans, will be aware of themselves. What do you mean be aware of themselves? To be able to reflect on their own behavior. That almost sounds like right there they're talking about AI.
Yeah.
Will be able to respond robustly to surprise in a general way. That's all fucking AI.
That's the fucking journey, man. And this was done in 19 69.
I mean, I knew in the 1800s, Robert, that they were talking about building the internet. They were talking about like a program, a system where they could like have tons of data, manipulate people. I can't remember what guy was talking about that. I think he was one of the Masons. But
well,
I
well, well,
digress.
well, there literally is like there's a programming language called ADA, and that's based on a woman who literally wrote program code based on a binary machine. That it wasn't a computer. Like it wasn't like she was writing it for Windows. Like they didn't have computers, right? But she literally wrote binary code for a machine that didn't exist. And in fact, the military industrial complex actually has an AI system called Ada in her name.
You
You
know
can
what's interesting?
look that
You're
up.
making me think of. You're making me think of actually. Well, they've already pre-programmed my generation with Halo with Cortana, right? And
Right.
Cortana later would become Siri. And I mean, it's and like I think, oh, it gets. And then you think of literally and I gotta watch what I say because that stupid thing will turn on. No matter how many times you turn it off, when you say the O and then the other letter and then Google. If I say that other letter, I know you're gonna con. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in the car just having a conversation talking shit about Google, and then the phone just is like, "I'll search that for you," and I'm like, "I didn't ask you to do anything. What the hell? I didn't even say the words." Right? But it's like, all right, the overlords are always listening, and yeah, man, it's crazy. So I
Yeah.
knew somebody that was working for Google and working on AI algorithmic learning ads.
Right.
Like literally contacted me and my friend one day and said, "Yeah, this is the stuff I'm doing," and we're just sitting there like, okay. And then later, like it's like you don't think much about that until like you start seeing the stuff that you were like looking into or other like you're talking around your phone. All of a sudden, it's all over your Facebook feed, and you're like, how is this possible? Well, it's because they were working with Google and everything's been interlinked.
Right.
And like, what has Google become? It's like the main they've turned it into the main search engine people use, which we all know that they've been changing things constantly, right? And so then they're controlling like our source of information that changes your perception of reality. When kids go now and Google, like when I would go and Google things, or you would, Robert, back in the day,
Yeah.
like say on the 19 the old flu from 1918. Um,
Right.
it's like you couldn't find any article, but any article that was written presently in like 2020 or 21 or 22, they just kept it hidden, and they just kept that way buried, and no one. I think a guy went through and tried to. Actually, it was Brightside Films, I think.
I remember those guys. I haven't seen them in a while.
I think that's his the YouTube channel. I think I want to make sure real quick that I'm thinking
No,
of.
no worries. Um,
Because it's a really smart guy that he's going down to the pyramids. He was always talking about ancient alien kind of stuff. I'm not remembering what is his YouTube channel. I'd probably have to go through my. Well, I'll find it. I'm not going to waste my time right now. But there's a guy that was like, he was bringing up. He said during the pandemic he didn't want to lose his channel, so he'd make really cunning videos, right?
right.
That like just would let you know, like, yeah, man, there's something going on. And he just jumps one day. He's like, dude, they're editing our internet right now. And so he shows a Google search. He's like, look, I'm trying to search this up on Google for my own research. And then he'd go to the end search, and he's like, look, it's the same searches all the way at the end.
Right.
They're just populating the search with the same searches. It's after like maybe after the 5th page, we would recycle everything.
Right.
Right. And then people, a lot of people aren't like me and you, where we'll actually keep going. We'll like keep looking. It's like whenever I'm doing like these deep dives, usually I can't rely on Wikipedia or anything.
Yeah.
So I'll have to go and find like an old article, right? And that's what I'm trying to find like as a source. And like that article will be so buried, and then sometimes they just won't even bring it up. Google just will keep it out of that engine unless you know the actual web page. You can't access it.
Well, I'll tell you
unless
something.
You do it on a search engine.
Like the information that was there before about the IPTO has changed because like command and control systems, like or the original name, that it was actually called Deep Green. And that's gone. That's scrubbed. That's off the Wikipedia. It's not there. But it was called Operation Deep Green. And, when you fast forward from there, and for us it's a rewind, you go back and you look at Operation Jade Helm. It's like you look at their coding structures, like for like language, like it's interesting. I mean, it's hey, anybody listening, do your research. Like, honestly, look into this stuff, man, because like we're not just pulling this out of our ass. Like, this is like literally a thing that it's out there, and the internet, the same internet that we're using, it wouldn't work if it didn't work. Like, I mean, it's surprising that it works in the fucking first place. Like packet derived message, packet derived information transmission is very, very volatile. Like, I mean, you have to have major multiple redundancies in all sorts of ways in order for it just to work, to function in the first place. The fact that this thing works is fucking amazing in itself, but it works based on a set of rules. That's why hackers are probably our best friends, in a sense, because they understand how to utilize it in such a fashion that, they understand it to a point where most don't, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
But, I mean, yeah, I'm glad we went down this deep dive because, like, I used to, I used to go on about, like, net neutrality and that whole thing. What a fucking goddamn hogwash show that was. Like, net neutrality. It was like, oh, yeah, Comcast versus, the tree hugging hippie internet community. It's like, no, it was a total psyop in the first fucking place. Like the thing
Right.
was designed like
To control you.
to control you, and you're being controlled and becoming bipartisan by just being involved, right? And
I mean,
that's the thing that we're seeing on like Twitter and all these social media programs. Sorry, go ahead.
it's crazy to think when we were younger, like before this all came out, we had an opportunity in life to have it without the internet being like as what it is now. Being
Mm,
and remember, it wasn't even connected to our phones. Like I remember, I think I was the generation they tested Facebook out on actually.
no,
Right back in that was 2004.
right.
When they were just bringing that out, right? And then that was they would only let that out to the college kids. They were testing all of us and seeing how we were going to react with it. And at first, it was nothing like it is, right? It was literally just people staying in contact. It had nothing to do with like what is they doing. Like you didn't. I don't even think there was like posts like that. It was more of just like, hey, meet here, party, and you're like, oh, cool, party. And then you would connect with your other friends, like, hey, what have you been doing since college, or like college, high school, or whatever the school they call schooling these days.
Yeah,
But
you know, and to keep touch with people. Um, I'm gonna be honest. Like when, like I used to be back in the '90s and late '80s. I was into the BBS community, so we'd have our modems. We connect, like we dial into like other systems. Well,
mm,
I eventually run a BBS, like a bulletin board system, and like on a computer that was connected to my phone line, and somebody could call it. I ran a system called Beechwood Ave, and I ended up creating a Mega BudNet, which was a Fido Opus compatible email distribution system. And guess what? One day we actually piggybacked onto the internet to get our shit off to Europe. But yeah, no, I had a node list of like over 200 nodes, and each node and three hubs. Like when I say
mm,
hubs, I mean like uh, utilizing like analog telephone lines, like to defeat the long distance aspect of that. Yeah, you'd have hubs in regions where you could basically call, send the packets, and it would get distributed to the other hubs who would also do the same thing. And then, that was a network. It wasn't real time,
right.
right?
It's not what it became like today. Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I knew about the internet, and that was like I said, we're going back in time, and I knew about what the internet was. I knew about its creation. I knew what it implied. I knew about the fucking globalists. I knew about like all of this
Right.
shit. I was like, come on, like get a goddamn
And
grip.
I remember when like being like when the first man when it was dial up, you could search so many things, and there was already people making forums on all this stuff that we're talking about today, and then there's
Yeah.
people like there's a huge push of other people put that I'm sure not all of them are necessarily nefarious, but like majority of them probably weren't. It was just normal people like, oh, I'm gonna put up Wiccanism and stuff, and they actually hadn't studied enough about the occult, didn't know what they were talking or getting involved in, right?
Sure.
And so they
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
they're doing, and they're just trying to spread information. So there was this whole thing, big
Right.
boom, and then this is where also we have the porn industry beginning like really heavy because they're moving it
Yeah.
from like doing VHSs because this is even before DVDs and all that stuff, right? And so like everything was done on VHSs or Betamax if they were even doing that. And then like I'll never forget like it was you had to go seek this stuff out. And remember, like even in
Uh,
stores, you would just go and there'd be a cover behind it, so kids didn't actually necessarily like always be like. I mean, you go to a freaking airport and they would have porn, the Playboy, but the Playboy, even that for a soft core porn, would have been like behind a black like label. You would never, as a kid, you were completely not exposed to it.
yeah.
Come the internet now, like kids just get on Twitter and like there it is, like all this BDSM porn and all this other weird stuff, all the different like
Yeah.
social engineering. They've like built it into something
Yeah.
10 times worse than what it was, right?
Right.
Like the way you describe it, for people that don't know like what a hub is, it's like the same thing as like the old telephones where they had like an operator like connect one wire to another, and then that's where they
Right.
would go to another center and then another like. But this is happening electronically at this point,
Mm-hmm.
and so these computers are like you'll hear like an actual like come down as the processors, like they were huge machines. You're not talking like, I mean that, yeah, I mean, a processor room now is so quiet compared to like what it would have been back in the day. You would have been hearing a lot of like plastic pieces moving. It would have been like one of those faders that you go into a professional recording studio. You see the faders moving up and down, and it's like that's exactly how these computers are working. And then before that, they were punch code systems, and that was all used like actually like they were building census reports on everybody back in the day to find out where everybody lived. Germany really used this technology when that first came out, and then they make punch codes, and that's how they were making sure that they were being um, well as how do I want to put it, finite they could be of eradicating their problem that they felt had, which was people that
Mm.
were of all types, whether it be Jew or German or whatever, Russian, communists, whatever the terminology they'd come up with, they would just attack it like the person that was going against their dystopian reality, and so then they'd have the census report built on you too, and so then like all those people would be processed, entered into another computer when they get to the camps, whatever it would be, depending on what type of camp, prison camp for military men, or even like wherever they were sending their Germans, because they wouldn't send everybody necessarily like to Auschwitz or the other places.
Well, before the internet.
Yeah, this is I'm talking prior to the internet. This is
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
talking punch card machines, but yeah, just going back to
Like,
the internet. I didn't mean to digress. Go back in the history of like computers being used for just dictatorships and controlling people.
right. Well, I mean, we just kind of disclosed right now, like the actual intention of the ARPANET was a command and control structure. Like, I mean, the very vessel that we're using right now in order to do this podcast was created in its inception as a command control like system, which is like, it's pretty fucking diabolical. Like, and going back to what I was saying about the whole um, net neutrality thing, like, Comcast versus the FCC, I think is what it was. And it's like, it was a conflict that didn't need to take place. Like, the it was to create the impression that there was a war to be fought. Like, it was like, oh, well, the tree hugging internet hippies need to fight for their free place on the internet. And it was like the Wild West. Don't get me wrong. The first 7 years of the internet, it was like the Wild West, right? But guess what? 2003, the first .com crash. You know what happened? All of those companies that received seed funding and venture capital funding that crashed, guess where their IPs went? Their intellectual properties, it went right back to fucking DARPA. Like, all of the, like, they basically handed out the function of creating the system by which we are being controlled by. Like, literally. And every time there's a crash, those IPs go back to those companies that seeded the venture capital companies, all of this shit. Like, it's a fucking insidious fucking system, man. Anyway.
Oh man, I mean, back in the old days, they wanted to master the television. Then they wanted to master, like, well, first it started with movies. Then they wanted to have like that in everybody's houses as a television. Then they wanted an interactive kind of television, right? Which is what the internet would later become, which is what it is almost now, right? Like, and there you even see how like with the streaming platforms, to get everything to no longer be a physical thing, they needed to be able to have enough memory and all these things so that way you would never everything would just be accessible through the internet. And
Mm.
so much of our life has literally like gone to the internet. Like, remember when you used to pay a bill back in the day, you would send a check in, right? To the credit card companies, and they were using essentially a network back then. I remember when you would swipe your card at like when I was a kid, your parents would swipe their card at the register, and then it would actually have to dial up, right? It wasn't always connected to the network. Now they're just like it's instantaneous communication, but like you were
Nah.
saying, all businesses had to have
Thanks
another
to,
phone line.
thanks to TCP/IP, and we have nobody but CERN to thank for that, because part an extension of what we've been talking about part of the creation of the internet was CERN's involvement, and CERN created the TCP/IP protocol with the www, and that literally that was the instantiation of the World Wide Web, the www. And we will have DJ from Level 9 Noons coming on here, where we have discussed in the past, like where in the Aramaic alphabet, the W, which is pronounced wa, is literally the sixth letter of the alphabet. So www.
6.
I'm just saying. Got my tinfoil hat on. No, you know what I mean? But hey, but yeah, no, it's a strong argument. And CERN, by the way, they got like Shiva, the fucking destroyer, as a big statue in front of their facility. If you go look at CERN. Oh, and by the way, their logo also has a 666 in it.
Well, just look at Google, right? And the Google's got the same thing hidden within their. Is it the Chrome? Isn't that where they hide it? Is their Chrome emblem?
Yeah.
It always looks like a Pokeball too, which makes it. Pokeball, Pokemon, Pocket Monsters, all this stuff.
I try not to use Chrome. I think I use it on my phone, but I don't use Chrome on my computer. I actually have Chromium, and it's a more open source version of the same thing.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I'm not as savvy with all this stuff, which I should be. You think when you're younger and you're growing up with all of it, but a lot of people still I mean, my attention's been brought more to other forms of technology.
Right.
I am gonna have to say I am getting a little tired, Robert. I might have to end for the night.
I am too, and I wanna let everybody go on a good note. You know, we covered a lot, man, and I really do appreciate you coming out, man.
Thanks for having me, man. This is fun.
No, it's been really good. I think people can glean a lot from what we talked about tonight. I got nothing else, man. It's just like
set everybody off with hey, just stay positive, stay strong.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
remember, we're all going through this together. You're not alone.
Yeah. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which isn't a whole lot, but But at the same time, everybody say your prayers, do what's right, and crying out loud, it's always noon somewhere. So we're out.
Peace.